shop down there been used as well. So it's a tactic that they employ, and it's important that people understand and are aware that it is a tactic to entice sales.
Yeah, and listen, I know a few people, I'm not speaking about this individual, but I know a few people that fell for this around Letterkenny. Someone said they had went to a local business, and that local business had over-ordered, and they had about 5 sets of pots and pans left over. And, you know, people I know who I think probably should have known better, because I'm constantly on about this, they took it as, and they bought these pots, and they're, from what I've seen, they're terrible.
Yes.
And I know it's not pots in this case, but they come in nice boxes. But I'll tell you, often from what I've seen so far, these aren't actually good items either.
No, and there's no recourse then, because it is door-to-door. There's no recourse to refunds or complaints. And then my worry is that people will come back to me because I give the seal approval, and they'll be like, I won't be able to help them.
Has that happened yet, Edward, that anyone's come back in and said, hold on, look, I got those knives off a fella on your behalf, blah, 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 or are you worried that you're trying to get out early before that happens?
Trying to beat them at the corner. Go now and speak and to let people know that it's nothing to do with me, so that they won't come back to me and look for their money back. Yeah.
All right, so let's be very, very clear. Coles Afrafo are not sending out any salespeople selling knives in the local area or anywhere else across the region either.
Exactly. Thank you, Greg.
No problem, Edward. Listen, thank you very much indeed for that. And as I say, I know other businesses that have been the victims of this. As I say, maybe it depends on who it is selling the stuff, what they're selling, I don't know. But to associate yourself to another business is very, very unfair. And then what happens is rumours start, right? And even if Edward's done what he's done there now, if someone says, I got something from such and such a place and it was terrible, it's never fact-checked after that. It's said once and it's spread around, even if it's not true. So in fairness to the likes of his business and other businesses there, generally speaking, they do not send around people selling things door to door. Right, okay. Hopefully that made that clear. A caller says, I was in Letterkenny yesterday and was surprised at the total lack of willingness of people to walk anywhere. I watched one person park at the post office and get in their car and park again about 40 to 50 yards up the street at McGee's Chemist. Is it time we made Letterkenny's main street pedestrianised? What do you think? Everyone seems to be driving in Letterkenny. I'm not from Letterkenny, but I'll be in it now and again, obviously. And everyone seems to drive everywhere. There's not that many pedestrians, and some of the streets are just completely bound up with cars. Are we too reliant on our cars, do you think? Do you think maybe Letterkenny Main Street, maybe it's the time that it was pedestrianised now, or at least tried? It's been tried with the likes of the Busking Festival. How did it go? Would there be a big resistance from businesses, or maybe they might have a more captive audience? I have found, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you, in Letterkenny and other towns, that if, dependent on my mood, if there's something that I want and I can't get parking close, I will continue. I won't find a car park and walk up for the most part. And maybe that's my laziness. But what about you guys out there? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApp or text. Right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to be talking to the ASDI General Secretary about possible strike action amongst some teachers.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Have you ever been really trying to focus on the homework at hand, but then all you can think about is your hands? And how weird opposable thumbs are. Maybe we evolved thumbs for scrolling. Grandad has posted a video. I'll ring him. I want his take on the Ireland game. Oh, I wonder if the highlights are up. Now I just want to play Rugby 6000. Steph did want to play online after school. School! Homework! Where was I?
Do your kids get distracted online? Get focus time and more with new Vodafone Secure Net to help ensure their time online is well spent. Search Vodafone Secure Net. Vodafone. Together we can.
Parental control subject to having secure net at home. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See Vodafone.ie. No one can prevent all cybercrime.
Discover your dream Donegal wedding by choosing a Gallon Hospitality Hotel for your special day. Jackson's and Villarose exude elegance, quality, and a wealth of experience in executing the perfect wedding reception. Come along to Jackson's Hotel and the Villarose Hotel on Sunday, September 11th as they present their autumn wedding venue showcase and view their complete wedding offering. Visit gallengrip.com to find out more.
New acres payment rates revealed. For more in your Farmer's Journal is Paul Mooney.
Farmers will be paid to plant trees, hedgerows and leave land idle. We have all the payment details. We have essential heatwave advice for keeping you and your animals safe. Find out which counties will likely see stocking rate cuts. Plus save tax by paying your children for farm work.
And pick up an entry form inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. €10,000 with Zurich Farm Insurance. In shops now.
Right. A second teachers' union is threatening strike action unless the government delivers a meaningful pay increase. Secondary school teachers are calling for a significant improvement in pay to help offset spiralling inflation. National teachers across the country will also be balloted on strike action in the coming weeks over pay. Right, so let's speak to Kieran Christie, the ASDI General Secretary. Good morning to you, Kieran, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Right, okay, so is it as simple as that teachers need more money because, of course, the increased cost of living due to inflation?
Look, teachers, in common with all public servants, and indeed in common with every one of your listeners this morning, are feeling the effects of the cost of living crisis and the skyrocketing inflation that's taking place right throughout the economy. And we're part of the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, and the Irish Congress of Trade Unions recently asked all public sector trade unions to prepare for a ballot in September if the government don't make a credible offer to increase the pay terms of public servants, because the current pay agreement is just inadequate because of the percentage rises that were built into it. They just don't meet the inflation that nobody expected to come along in the way it did.
So as part of that agreement, in simple terms, say, for instance, for 2023, or what pay increases are on the table?
Well, the government have offered an additional 2.5% for this year, for 2022, on top of the 2% that has already been factored in. And as you know, inflation is effectively double that, 10%. So 5 into 10, just doesn't go in terms of covering that's effectively a pay cut for public servants. And to add salt to the wound, then for next year, they're offering 2.5%, I beg your pardon, 2.5%, when most analysts are putting a conservative estimate of 4% for next year in terms of inflation. And, given the inadequacy of the level of prediction that has been taking place right throughout this year, I wouldn't be at all confident that inflation will be as little as 4% next year, but the government are only offering 2.5% in any event.
Yeah. Might the government argue that the general measures being taken in the budget, though they have yet to be decided, but they will be announced, that will close the gap between the pay increase and inflation?
Yeah, certainly we're hearing the government making soundings, or putting out soundings in the media about what they might and might not do in the budget. But bear in mind, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform have been adamant throughout that they were going to do little or nothing prior to the budget in relation to anything to do with inflation. And it's not at all clear that they will do anything of substance within the budget to ameliorate in a major way, or even in a minor way, the effects that people are feeling. Well, where our big problem lies, quite frankly, is that earlier this year in March, the ICTU asked the government to engage with them to review the terms of the current public sector agreement, Building Momentum. And there was a long delay before they engaged. And when they engaged, they made a very inadequate offer. And they walked out of the room in June, and they haven't engaged since. And that's the approach that the government have been taking to the remuneration and the payment and the salaries of public servants, and it's just unacceptable. So we're preparing for balloting in common with all the public sector unions, right across the public sector. All the public sector unions will be balloting. And if the government don't, there is a great opportunity now later this month for the government to come back to the table and make a credible offer. And that will hopefully put an end to it. But if they don't do that, then we have to be prepared for all eventualities. And we've been asked, in common with all the other unions, to put in place preparations for a ballot in early September for industrial action if that were necessary.
And would that be, effectively across the board? I mean, you have incredible bargaining power given the level of organisation amongst these cohorts of workers.
Look, no public servant, no teacher wants to go on strike or wants to take industrial action. It's the last course of action that anybody wants to take. Remember, you'll be losing your pay once you take industrial action. It's quite painful all around. And it's painful for those in receipt of the services being provided by whatever the public servants involved are providing. So it's a last recourse. But one thing is certain: we in the STI and in across the public sector, the unions are determined that our members will be shielded as far as is possible against the effects of the cost of living crisis. We certainly won't be accepting what are effective pay cuts.
Now, pardon my ignorance, is there scope within the public service agreement as it stands, the Building Momentum Agreement, to renegotiate upwards along the levels that might please your members? How long is left to go in that agreement, or could any increases form part of a new agreement? What is the status there of this agreement and the scope within it to, as I say, to try and avert this?
As I mentioned, and I probably didn't make it clear, there is a review clause within Building Momentum, and that was triggered in March.
Right, okay.
By the ICTU when they asked the government to revisit under the Building Momentum mechanism, the review mechanism, the pay arrangements within the agreement. And as I say, there was a long delay. But when they eventually made their way to the table in June, the government made a very inadequate offer. And they basically have left the negotiations with sort of mixed statements in the media that they're available for talks, but there's no dates for talks. Mm-hmm. And to my knowledge, but hopefully that will change. And later this month, they will get back down into get into a room and thrash this out and sort it out.
I suppose we can expect, and I think the public and listeners can expect, this being framed in the context of the budget, the 6.3 billion being available, and if you were to meet demands of public workers, well, that's going to impact the availability. In other words, and it's a tried and tested technique, I suppose, to pitch public and private workers against each other.
Well, they may do, and certainly, as I mentioned, they are making soundings that they are going to have measures within the budget to address the cost of living crisis, not only for public sector workers, but for people right across society. And of course, those measures would be welcome, although we need to see what they entail before we be definitive in our welcome. But you touched on another important point. It's very important that this is not seen as a public versus private.
No, but that's what will happen. That's what we have it right now, because already those on welfare versus the squeezed middle are pitched against each other. So it's inevitable that this is what is going to happen.
Well, I don't quite agree with you because, for our part, of course, we want to see people who are on welfare and in private sector employment make decent livings and make a decent wage as well. And by the same token, I've never met a private sector worker who didn't believe that the public servants, the Gardaí, the nurses, the teachers, whatever, shouldn't be properly paid. Oftentimes, this is just a creation in the media to
in fairness
stoke up headlines.
It's not. Well, I don't know if you included me in that. I'm not interested in that at all.
No, I appreciate that.
This is not what I do.
You're touching on a wider point.
It's not what I do. I'm saying I'm starting to get messages coming in already saying I'm starting to get fed up with these teachers. I don't need to read it on. Teachers is just coming off the back of a long, well-paid summer holiday. This is the kind of stuff that's already coming in here. I'm not trying to stir it up, but it's very much in the government's interest, right? And where maybe anger should be directed, it's very much in the government's interest to have people working for private companies having a go at people working for public companies, because when you go on strike, you'll want to enjoy the support of the general population, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. And you have, as I pointed out, touched on something that does arise from time to time. I'm making the wider point that inflation is not hasn't been created by anybody in this country. We know the wider factors that have created it, including Ukraine and supply of oil and all of that kind of thing. But we all have to try and manage this process as best we can. And we all have to protect our own interests. Whether you're private or public sector, nobody should be struggling and nobody should be pitched against one another in order to see that things aren't, that there's advantages accrued to one sector that don't accrue to the other.
Yeah. Take us back finally to the early negotiations. What was the starting point in terms of a percentage for an increase? Was that on the table from the union side?
As I said, these negotiations are being conducted centrally by the negotiating team from the ICTU, and I'm not on that team. Mm-hmm. We have appointed negotiators, and they undertake the work in the best interests of the wider public sector. And as I say, I'm not privy to those discussions.
Okay. Listen, thanks so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care of yourself. Kieran Christie there, ASDI General Secretary. 08660 25,000. Let's go to some callers here. We have Stephen here. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. Any sympathy for the ASDI, ICDU and other unions seeking pay rises?
They don't deserve a penny out of it. What do you call this? They're off here now for 3 months in the summer. Who's had to pay their childcare? Nobody. They're at home doing it. At Christmas time, they're 2 weeks off. Easter, 2 weeks off. Halloween, a week off. Nobody else has them holidays. Nobody else has them. They're all on 40 and 50 grand a year starting out. They're on good money. They're paid well. Like everybody else is out there struggling, having to downsize their cars, having to move their money where they need to move it. I think the teachers could move on with everybody else and do what they need to do. I understand the nurses deserve to get a bit more than what they get, but I think the teachers should lie back and say nothing this time around.
Do you think they earn enough? I mean, we don't really know how much teachers earn versus their outgoings and all that.
I'm not saying that they earn, what's weekly is there, but when you count on all the holidays and you're not on there beyond 4 o'clock in the evening and you don't start till 9 o'clock, your day's very easy and you get very well paid for what your hours and everything is. And I think everybody knows that in this country, the teachers are very well paid in this country compared to every other country around the world.
Right, so you're of the view that whatever about teachers, I don't know, do you think Gardaí deserve a pay rise, for example? Because they're all part of this sort of, this collective that are seeking increases, I presume.
Well, it depends. Like, it's what's their work. You have to factor on their work. Like, how many guards have been brought up here, how many doing over hours and things like that there. So it's all down to the people. But when the guards aren't getting 3 months off and 2 weeks after Christmas and all the rest, they're much the same holidays as everybody else. So I'm saying the teachers have little to be crying about when they're lying off for 3 months of the year, 4 months nearly of the year, and everybody else is out 4 weeks off, 2 weeks off if they're lucky.
All right, Stephen, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
No, Mark.
All right, take care of yourself. Now, oftentimes when we have these conversations, schools are in. They're out at the moment. So many of you out there might be teachers. Do you want to set the record straight and have your say on what Stephen has said there? 08660 25,000. Greg, I'm starting to get fed up with teachers. They're always first, threatening strike if they don't get what they want. What are they willing to give? Will they work a shorter summer holiday, perhaps only 6 weeks in the summer instead of 12? Not talking about Easter, Halloween, Christmas, midterm breaks, teacher training days. Teachers, we are public and are starting to get fed up with you. Might have a strong union, but unlicensed support is running out. That's one view there. Right, okay, what do you think? 08660 25,000. We were asking about the Garda Band. Should it be continued to be paid by you? it's 25 grand a gig. I think they've already done over 4 million in the last 2 years performing at schools and hospitals, nursing homes and elsewhere. I think they did a few gigs with some musicians as well. We have the polls up on our social media. Here are some of the early responses. No, they should be doing normal Garda duties when not performing, and they should be practicing in their spare time. Here in rural Donegal, we've got no Gardaí for miles. Recruit more and have a larger presence everywhere in the country instead of giving tax breaks to the rich. Another, a Garda band. They're not paid to play instruments. It's about time they did what they are paid for to do, not parade about the place. Okay, so that's the early responses. Please give us some balance on some of these issues. You know the numbers.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Nutrius Weanling Crunch offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Weanling Crunch ATP, get one free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
It's time to upgrade. Remember, when upgrading, even a few years, you're looking at better fuel efficiency and enhanced safety features. With the largest selection of pre-owned vehicles available in Donegal, at iMotors, we are confident we have your next car. All of our cars come with up to 12-month warranty. Call into us in Letterkenny or Malin or check out imotors.ie.
Okay, right, we have a couple of good days today, Friday, Saturday and much of Sunday, hopefully, and lots of you will be getting the barbecue out. Now, are you like me, whereby a pork chop, sausage and a beef burger is just about as adventurous as you are from times, as delicious as they are, by the way. But anyway, we have Kwangi Chan, a chef, coming on with us at 11:30, taking your barbecuing questions. So if you're looking for inspiration, we'll have a general chit-chat and maybe we can get some of that inspiration. But if you're looking for some ideas or if you're looking for some advice on how to cook different things, get in touch with us. Get your text into us right now, 08660 25000, and we'll have a chat with Kwangi at 11:30 and give you some inspiration, some ideas, but also answer your questions. So just to follow up on that knife scam, I'm not going to lie to you, we had some slight technical issues here in studio at the start of the programme, so my mind wasn't just quite as clear as it might normally be, albeit not very clear, but you know where I'm coming from. But all's good now, all settled down. So just reading this knives scam, a post that was put up on social media, just to clarify what's happening. There's a man going door to door selling sets of professional knives that all the top chefs are using. He will name drop people in your area, neighbours, businesses, making out like he supplies them with these knives. He even went so far as to say he ran a trade fair at a local business the day before he was at my door. He maintains the retail price of these knives is €199, but he's offering them at a trade price €60 as he only has a few sets left. These knives are online for just over €20, and this person says, sorry, they aren't of great area. He was most recently in the Carragart area, and I know of several people, including myself, who fell for his act. He makes out like your neighbour sent him to you, when in fact he specifically asks details about the people next door so he can use the same line again. He's driving an NI Reg, light blue car, and he's pictured as well. So just to keep these people are very mobile. So we're talking about Carragort in this instance. There'll be else. Now, if someone comes to you and says there's a fantastic set of knives, they look quite good on the face of it, and they start off at €60, then all of a sudden you think if you got them for 20 or 25, that it might be a great bargain, or 40, or maybe you feel you can bargain him down. But that caller has done their research. The knives he claims are worth €199, are available online for €20, and they say they aren't, in fact, fantastic value either. Right, okay. Councillor Jerry McMonagle joins us on the programme now. Thanks for taking the call today.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay, so there's a public consultation taking place at the moment, or is it to be launched? And what's it in relation to?
Yeah, it's a public consultation that will be happening in relation to the speed limit on the completed 4-lane when all the roadworks are completed, and you have the central meridian and all the walkways and the cycleways and pedestrian crossings on it. So it's currently 100 kilometres on that road prior to the roadworks. It's obviously down to 50 now because of the roadworks. But
Did
there's
it not
a
come
proposal.
down to 80 before the roadwork started, no?
No, it was 100, and there was talk of it going down to 80, and then it went down now to 50
yeah.
for the roadworks, and the bylaws now are up for revision again for the review of the speed limits, and they're using that opportunity to put out the public consultation for a reduction from 100 kilometres to 60 kilometres on that road. So we passed a resolution on the July meeting for it to go out to public consultation, a 30-day public consultation, which is scheduled for October, and then it will be brought back to the members for adoption in November. So I'm just flagging it up, and I'm saying to people to keep an eye on it, and when it does come out, they have their say. It's a big reduction coming down from 100 to 60.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're seeing today in the middle of the roadworks that people are hardly keeping to the 50, so it's about how is the 60 going to be policed, and when you have a brand new road and fairly good surface and all of that, then it's a main arterial route in and out of the town, so it's in people's interest to make their thoughts known on this and their opinions.
And that's all people, isn't it? Because presumably local businesses on that road, who fair play to them, are continuing to operate even with all the disruption and do a great job in that regard. They will obviously have a vested interest in the speed limit on that road. I can only presume that how quick traffic is going can sort of influence whether people feel that it's safe to make certain manoeuvres, or if they see signage or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and the road will be designed to slow down traffic. There's no doubt about that, and make people think about it. You'll have a central meridian on one side of you. You'll have the cycleway and the footpath on the other. So naturally, people may start slowing down from the 100 to maybe 80 or 70, but there will be, once the bylaws are adopted by the members, it will go down to 60. That will have to be enforced. There more than likely be speed vans put on there, or Garda speed checks. And, rather now, people should wait until it happens and then saying, this is, it's like shooting rats in a barrel, sort of getting people through their driving at 65 or 70 kilometres.
We'll spend years doing that then. So do you think, I get the feeling that you think 60 is a bit slow, 100 perhaps a bit fast. Would somewhere in the middle, maybe 80, be a reasonable compromise? For, as you say, it's going to be a much safer. It's going to be a much safer road. It's going to lend itself. I just think I think I'd have to agree with you. I think the chances of the majority of drivers sitting at 50 or even 60 it's going to be routinely faster than that. And as you say, we'll have that shooting fish in a barrel scenario.
Yeah, we need to be practical about that, and also there's 30 to 35. If they look right, what is the impact on, say, the town, getting into town, getting out of town at the peak times? I think people need to be thinking about that, looking at that, maybe going and ask questions about that there of the NRDO. But it's just, it's not just for the businesses on the 4 lane, it's for businesses and for the people who live in the town and who are regularly using that road. And there's an opportunity here now for them to have their say, and I would certainly, plead with them to have your say, because once the bylaws are adopted, and we'll come back to elected members, but once the bylaws are, we will be guided by that public consultation and the report back on it. Then, if there's a majority of people in favour of that, so be it. I have no problem with that.
I wonder what weight I wonder what weight is given to public opinion on this, because often there are these public consultations, and we don't really know, what the view of the public might be. I mean, say for instance, as it relates to the local property tax, do we know what percentage of the public want it dropped, stayed where it is, or increased? Like, if the majority of people say, no, look, we want it at 80, for example, what weight is given to that opinion, I wonder? The Gardaí will have a say, I presume the National Roads Authority, the TAI will, and others, maybe the road safety officer might make a submission. I don't know. Do we know how all of this is balanced out?
Yeah, well, it's dependent on, unfortunately, with many public consultation, there's not a big uptake on it. And what you do, I mean, I certainly do, is I read all the public's comments, what they would like to see and hear, and you weigh that up then with the greater good, or, what's best for everybody. But that's why there is public consultations. They're important. They're giving the ordinary people a say in how, in this instance, the speed limits are. And there's no sense in coming January next year, when it's going to be implemented, that no, 60 and all, shooting rats in the barrel, and that speed sign shouldn't be out there. But it's there to police something that everybody had an opportunity to have a say on, and maybe the majority choose not to.
Yeah, and I don't know if the information is available, but it would be interesting if scenarios had been given as well. Rather than just us, can I get somewhere quicker or slower? What should I, like for instance, what would the consequences of the general traffic flow coming into and exiting the town be if it were 60 kilometres? In other words, would it cause traffic jams in other parts of the town? What are the potential risks of doing it at 80? What could be the impact on local businesses? It'd be great if we had more info so we could have a more informed decision, but I don't think that information is going to be made available to us as part of this process, Jerry.
Well, and in some instances there is that information is available, and in fairness,
all right. Unfortunately, the line has dropped. Yep. No, unfortunately, Councillor McMonagle, the line has gone on us there. That's Councillor Jay McMonagle. We appreciate your time this morning. So that public consultation has now been opened, and you have 30 days odd, less than that now remaining to have your say. So let's put the question out there. We're talking about the 4 lanes into Letterkenny. So that is the road from the Clanry Hotel, that area. There's a business there, that roundabout, into the Polestar roundabout. So that stretch of road, when that is fully reopened, what do you believe the speed limit should be? I think the proposal is 60. Some might feel that is too low. 100 was there previously. Some may feel that's too high. And maybe 80 doesn't satisfy people either. Have your say. Tell us, what do you think it should be set at? 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text show. Hi, Greg. Thanks for the great show as always. It's our pleasure, and thanks for the lovely comment. Is this an April Fool's joke or what? Secondary teachers off with full pay since May, plus all the other holidays. What about inflation for those on minimum wage? I get where you're coming from, and I haven't really formulated an opinion on this, but the one thing that a lot of us as workers don't have is any organisation that we can campaign to an employer and say, look, we as a collective here believe that we deserve such and such, or the fact that we should not have less money this year than we had last year because of inflation. The teachers and other groups are well organised. I wonder if we were all part of a bigger union ourselves, and those on minimum wage the same, would they be doing the same? It's very difficult, people on minimum wage, to protest and to try and seek better terms. And perhaps them not being part of a union is the problem. That's why maybe we have big groups of people working in certain industries on the minimum wage. Should we then begrudge teachers who are well organised in that regard and can campaign on a mass scale, or maybe we should be looking at them and saying, well, maybe we should be doing what they're doing. I don't know. As I say, that's not an opinion. I'm just throwing out some scenarios. Greg, if that man thinks teachers have such a good job, well, what's stopping, or what did stop him from becoming a teacher? This idea of finishing at 4 o'clock is rubbish. Homework to be corrected, the next day work planned, the list goes on. It's easy to criticise when you're not doing the job. If it's such a good, well-paid job, why are there less and less going into teaching? Maybe that man can answer that question. And it's a good question, and one which I should have thought of myself. It's a job I couldn't do. I accept that I could not do that job. I don't think I could stand up in front of all those young people and have the patience and the skill and the brains to educate them. It's a job with huge responsibility, but there's the question. If it's that easy, why is there a shortage of teachers? Why aren't more people becoming teachers? More texts here. Hi, Greg. Lots of the teachers do the exam papers during the summer holidays and get well paid to do this. It should be part of their jobs. Sick of listening to teachers moaning about pay increases. They really don't deserve it. Give it to the nurses who put in big hours. All right, that's some views. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after the break, which is followed by the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
The big bucks are back.
20 grand!
4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
Oh, that ain't working.
€2,500 every Friday.
And on the 4th Friday,
September 2nd, someone also wins
10,000 cash money.
Go to highlandradio.com and get your €10 ticket. It's a whole new meaning to cash flow. Highland Radio.
That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing.
Summer's just got better.
For a Portaloo for any event, contact the exclusive stockists in Donegal. Gortley Sales and Hire. Long-term and short-term quotes available for parties, festivals, weddings or any event across the county. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126 276.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment. All have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Secondary school teachers are calling for a significant improvement in pay to help offset spiralling inflation. All public sector unions will be balloted on possible strike action next month. On today's 9 till noon show, ASTI General Secretary Kieran Christie said the cost of living is at an all-time high and what the government is offering is nowhere near enough.
The government have offered an additional 2.5% for this year, for 2022, on top of the 2% that has already been factored in. And as you know, inflation is effectively double that, 10%. So 5 into 10 just doesn't go in terms of covering that's effectively a pay cut for public servants. And to add salt to the wound, then for next year, they're offering 2.5%.
The Finance Minister says there could be significant consequences if a windfall tax on energy companies were to be applied in next month's budget. While Paschal Donoghue hasn't categorically ruled out such a tax, he's outlined reasons why it could be counterproductive to do so. Donegal today Pierce Doherty previously called for a windfall tax to be introduced after the increasing revenues for companies supplying wind energy were revealed. It's a call that's backed by the UN Secretary General. However, Minister Pascal Donoghue says there are considerations to weigh up before making such a decision.
It is the wind and renewable sector that we need to supply additional energy to Ireland to make sure we don't have the energy security issues that we have now. If we decide we're going to tax the renewable sector and the wind sector more in the future, that runs the risk of undermining the very investment we need to become energy independent.
Our water usage will need to drastically change as climate change puts more pressure on supply, according to an expert. Over 20 supplies have been impacted by shortages in Wexford, Kilkenny, Laois, Limerick, Clare, Cork, Kerry, Tipperary and Galway. 60 other supplies across the country, some of them in Donegal, are also being closely monitored, according to Irish Water. Dr. Matt Crowe from the National Water Forum says people do need to change their habits when it comes to water use.
Climate change, we know, is going to put more pressure on the supply of water. So we just have to plan for these things. And like the sort of questions that we need to be asking ourselves are, like, in the future, will there be enough water for everybody in the country, particularly with growing population? Will water shortages and restrictions be more frequent in the future? Or are we going to have a really well-developed system where very little water is wasted?
A COVID-19 vaccination clinic is planned for Dunloe this week. Clinics will run on tomorrow and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5:15 p.m. at the Community Mental Health Hub in the town. First, second and booster doses for those aged 12 and over will be available, as well as first and second boosters for over 65s. And a man's been charged in connection with the murder of Sean McCarthy in Dublin. The 28-year-old's body was discovered in an apartment in Drumcondra last weekend. With more detail, here's Tara Duggan.
Sean McCarthy from Poppintree near Ballymun was reported missing last Tuesday, prompting a Garda appeal for information on his whereabouts. 5 days later, officers found his body in an apartment on Ackle Road in Drumcondra on Saturday evening. An incident room was set up at Ballymun Garda station following the discovery, and a murder investigation was launched. A man in his 30s was arrested in connection with the investigation. He's since been charged and will appear before the Criminal Courts of Justice this morning.
Well, the forecast and Met Éireann tell us that it will be a little misty and foggy in parts this morning, but that will clear very shortly, leaving a dry and sunny day. Warm with sea breezes developing in the afternoon. Top temperatures across the northwest this morning, 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. It'll be warmest inland and a little cooler in coastal areas, particularly where there are breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
Obituary notices for Thursday morning, August 11th. The death has taken place of Kathleen Rose Lynch, née Hollywood, late, of 12 Crockmore Road, Craig Bain, Claudy, County Derry, reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon, leaving at 12:20 p.m. for 1 p.m. Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Craig Bain, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, and donations if desired in lieu to Dementia NI, care of McLaughlin Funeral Directors, Dungiven. The death has taken place of Molly Long, Station Road, Chapeltown, Sheffield, England. Remains reposing at Terence McClintock Funeral Premises tonight from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. for 10 a.m. funeral mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar, with burial afterwards in Drumbow Cemetery in the family plot. Family flowers only, donations if desired to St Columban Fowlers, care of Terence McClintock Funeral Director. Mass will be streamed live on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Lily Devine, née Cairns, 38 Coram Road, Keenahan, Strabane, and formerly of Ballacht, Sion Mills. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:25 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Glengorman at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Melmount Manor Residents Comfort Fund, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place of Maura Moody, Kiltoll Convoy. Funeral from her residence this morning at 10:30 a.m. for funeral mass at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church Convoy, with burial afterwards in the old cemetery in the family plot. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Brinley Manor Nursing Home, care of Terence McClintock Funeral Director, or any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio.
If that sounds good, so will this. Save up to €300 off your car insurance cover when you buy online at libertyinsurance.ie. That's based on a 25% discount for new policies. Up to €300 off your car insurance. That's money for living. That's liberty. Future-proof. Subject to a minimum premium and applied before optional covers. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Liberty Seguros Compañía de Seguros y Reaseguros S.A., trading as Liberty Insurance, is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pensions Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Okay, if you are going to be entering Highland Radio's Summer Megacast Draw, €20,000 up for grabs, I would suggest you do it today, because today is the last full day whereby you can enter. Buy your ticket for €10 and be entered automatically into all 5 draws. We have €2,500 to give away on this programme tomorrow in cold, hard cash. A further €2,500 the following Friday, another the following Friday, and another on the following Friday. And then we will be giving away €10,000 as well. So on one day, the last day, we're going to give €12,500 away. So if you're going to enter, today's the best day to do it. I would suggest you can get your tickets on our website, highlandradio.com. It is 1 for a tenner. You get 6 for 50 and 10 for 80, isn't it? Is that how it works? It is, yeah. And you can go onto our website. It explains it all there too. You have to answer a simple question, and that's it. You buy one ticket today, and that's you in it for 5 draws. And even if you win tomorrow, you're put back in the unlikely event that the same person might win twice. So go to our website, highlandradio.com, and enter there if you want to. Now, if you would prefer to do it over the telephone, you can speak to our staff here, 07491 25000. We're taking your calls right now if you wish to purchase your tickets over the telephone. And if all else fails, feel free to call up to us here at highlandradio.com and we will help you out. Okay, so that, in other words, anyone who wants to enter can enter, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible. But as I say, if you want to make sure that you're in all 5 draws, then hop on the website today or give us a call, 07491 25000, and we will sort you out that way. Just to remind you that there's a couple of things coming up later on in the programme. We're going to be answering your relationship questions with Keely. It feels like ages since we spoke to Keely. So if you've any issues as it relates to relationships, now it could be a romantic relationship, it could be a sibling, a parental relationship, or whatever it might be. Keely works with couples and individuals to help iron out any problems there may, or indeed, you know what, if the problems can't be ironed out, Keely will say that too. So if it's something that you don't want to talk to your best friend about, or your sister or your brother or whomever it might be, you can contact us and I'll put the question to Keely. 086 60 25000 is the number to call. It's confidential, by the way. Your information is not shared all over the place, so don't worry about that. Or call 07491 25000, or if you want, you can private message it to me on social media, and I'll try and get you some help if it would help. Okay. Also, a little later on, we are going to be talking barbecuing. We have the last few days of this heat wave, potentially summer, but we hope not. We're going to be taking your questions on barbecuing at 11:30. So if you want some inspiration, some ideas, some advice about the barbecue, get in touch with us right now and we'll get those questions to our chef, Kwangi Chan, who will be joining us. All right, let's take a break now for the bingo numbers. And our next guest joins us in studio in just 2 minutes.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 11th of August. Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €9,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 32. The jackpot number is 39. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 82, 27, 10, 16, 29, 89, 77, 84, 79, and finally 32. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The legends are coming.
The legends of golf are coming.
The countdown is on. Yes, there are only a number of days to the start of the Irish Legends. Presented by the McGinley Foundation, the event takes place at Rosapenna Hotel and Golf Resort. Tuesday the 16th, their fairways will be filled with celebrities from the world of sport and entertainment. And Thursday the 18th is the start of the professional competition. Witness some of the greats of the game, including Ryder Cup captains, major winners, taken to the links of Rosapenna over 3 days. Will it be up to the challenge? Tickets now on sale at legendstour.com. Irish Legends, presented by the McGinley Foundation.
Back to school at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. Triple black footwear available in junior, women's and men's sizes from Vans and Adidas. Match it up with a backpack and tracksuit bottoms, ideal for back to school from Nike, Adidas, Vans and Under Armour. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online, mobile. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
At Meehan's of Fo, there's top brands such as Diesel, Wrangler, Remus, Kingpin and Outrage jeans. Also Tough Stuff trousers and workwear. And there's men's shirts and polo shirts in sizes up to 6XL. In their ladies department, check out the new Paco clothing, and there's Diesel t-shirts reduced to only €15 right now. At Meehan's of Fo. Follow them on Facebook.
All right, Charlene Logue is Youth Outreach Manager with the Donegal Youth Services and joins us in studio now. Good morning to you, Charlene. Thanks for calling up.
No problem, Greg.
How
Thanks
are you
for inviting us.
keeping?
Very well, enjoying the good weather.
Right, tell us the role of the Donegal Youth Service. I know it's a lot, but just some sort of a brief overview.
Okay, well, we're over 40 years in existence. We're there to look after youth clubs and projects and young people across the county of Donegal. So we started off just working with youth clubs with a lot of volunteers. And over the years, we were able to access funding, some mainstream and some fixed term, as we call it, so 2 or 3 year programmes. We have a staff team now of over 30. We have a community employment scheme, and we have various fixed term projects running at the minute as well, called Our Generation, funded by SEUPB. The UP project, Unlocking Your Potential, funded by the International Fund for Ireland. And then we have our internal programmes as well operating. But since COVID, we've lost a lot of volunteers. A lot of youth clubs are struggling to get volunteers and to reopen. We're lucky that we worked right through the pandemic. All our staff turned to one-to-one work and small group work and working outdoors and maintaining young people's mental health and encouraging them to stay connected.
Right, so the youth, the Donegal Youth Service in of itself has managed to hold on to its staff and volunteers and what have you, but you're finding the individual youth clubs around the county, for whatever reason, people have maybe moved on, changed the priorities or decided they want to do something else, and there's a shortfall in volunteers now. Yes. Is it across the board or is it from area to area dependent?
Well, we have youth clubs across the whole county. from Glengadden, Mallinhead over to Fana, down to Pettigo and Donegal Town and across East Donegal and Letterkenny Town itself. We're lucky we have a couple of new clubs that are getting established, and we're happy for that to happen. But once again, they're seeking volunteers as well too. So we do have good community spirit across the local towns and villages. But you're right, people have moved on. They have readjusted what they're doing in their life, reprioritised. Maybe their children have grown up and they're no longer part of the youth club. So we have a volunteer forum which comprises all the youth clubs, 28 youth clubs across the county. So they come together 3 times a year. And one of the issues they discussed in May was the lack of volunteers coming forward and how they were struggling. So this is one of the jobs we said we would do to try to rebrand and reinvigorate and re-recruit for volunteers in the community.
Now, for people that I don't know too, I mean, obviously we have significant level of employment here. It's effectively, statistically, full employment. I wonder, is that a factor as well? That maybe people feel they don't have as much spare time as they once had?
It could be. It could be a factor. Most of our volunteers that come into the drop-in at the Loft, which is one of our other projects in Letterkenny, they would be older teens and in their 20s, and they may be partially employed or unemployed. But they're coming back in to learn new skills, and they're realising that teamwork and taking responsibility and working with people effectively and taking responsibility for organising things and supporting people are valuable skills that you can take out when you're looking for work.
Yeah, it's really, it really looks good in the CV, and you can grow as a person as well too. I mean, we're all learning all of the time. So it can improve your employment prospects potentially if you have struggled in the past.
Yes,
so there's growth there for the person volunteering. Yes. But it's also about helping our young people. Do we have a rough idea of how many young people will engage with youth services sort of under the Donegal Youth Service umbrella? And how do people access them? Is it through schools? Is it through local clubs? Are they targeted to particular areas? So talk to us a little bit about how that side of things work.
Okay, well, there's over 4,500 young people on our books across the county in the different youth clubs and projects. We work with young people aged 10 to 25. We're funded under the UBU, which is UB Yourself. It's Department of Children funding from mainstream funding. And they have given us very targeted pieces of work to do across the county. So we really have to stick to the parameters of what the department are asking for. So it's very much targeted work with young LGBT, young travellers, young early school leavers, and those that are finding it difficult to seek or gain employment.
Most people listening to us who their ears have been pricked and they'd say, this is something I might be interested in. They should be able to volunteer relatively close to where they live.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we would expect people
Such
to
as
in their
the
own
network.
locality. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Right, so who's the call out for to? Because we are speaking, it's no harm to sort of learn again or relearn the work of the Donegal Youth Service. But in terms of the volunteers we're hoping to speak to today, what are the criteria? 18 plus, presumably.
18 plus. Yeah, 18 plus and willing to give up a few hours of their time. They also would need to be willing to get Garda vetted because that's mandatory now. It's part of the law and legislation.
I think we're less defensive on that now. I think when that was first introduced, the people were sort of recalled going, well, why would I need? I mean, what? Now I think people understand the importance of that. So I think that's less of a barrier perhaps as it once might have been.
It is. And the only barrier now, and it's not really a barrier per se, is that every time you want to volunteer somewhere, you need to get Garda vetted again. And that causes people to make a comment on it, but it's okay.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a lead in at the moment because obviously the Gardaí are vetting potential host families for refugees and they're constantly doing other work. So there is a bit. Do you know what the turnaround time is for Garda vetting at the moment? Really what I'm getting at here is that there could be a bit of a lead in between expression of interest and actually being able to go out and do the volunteering.
Yes. Well, it can be anything between 2 and 6 weeks if you're living in the country and from the country. If you're outside the country, it depends on the other country, how much they play ball back with the Gardaí in terms of getting the information back again. 2
to 6 weeks is not actually as bad. It has been worse. Okay. Right. So talk to us then about the work volunteers might be expected to do.
Well, before they would do anything, we will get references from them. We will put them in touch with the local youth club if they don't know where or who to speak to. We will offer training then. So there's either accredited or non-accredited training. It starts in September as well too. So they'll get induction. they'll familiarise themselves with what is youth work, because that's the main thing to understand. Youth work is not teaching; it's not structured in terms of regimented. It's very much fluid. It's depending on the needs of the young person. It's young person led. It's person centred approach. So talking around the youth work methodologies is very important for a person to know that it's casual, it's social, it's friendly, it's fun, it's safe, and we need to put people through their paces in that. So. And we want to know what the volunteer comes with their own skill base as well, that we can use that skill to the best of their ability, so it makes them more willing to be involved in the local youth club and bring something to it.
Now, given what you said then, are we really talking towards winter and into 2023? Is that...
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, that's...
So late September usually starts the youth club year after school starts and children get settled into school. Then we find that the youth clubs get established then. They run in quarters. So quarter one would be kind of October to December, then January to March, April to June, and then a summer programme across the summer.
All right. Now, we've talked a little bit. Did we mention what kind of roles they might have, what level of commitment there might be in terms of their the volunteers' time?
Yeah, probably youth club be 2 to 3 hours maximum in the week.
Yeah.
Most local youth clubs operate one night a week. In the bigger towns, there might be more projects or more youth club sessions, but it's completely up to the individual. We can't make somebody do X amount of hours. We have to accept what they're willing to give us.
Volunteer to
absolutely,
do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we work to that strength as well. And obviously, the more volunteers we get, the less expectation there would be on someone. And I use the word expectation loosely. There would be a commitment. If you commit to something, that you turn up on time, you're presentable, you're accepting of how each individual club or project operates, and you fit in as part of the team.
Yeah, I presume the feedback from volunteers is that it's very rewarding.
I would say so. For the length of time, some of the volunteers we've people 30 years volunteering in their local youth club and project. They've stayed there, they've stayed the time. I know all their names, they know me. There's quite a friendliness about the individuals across the county in terms of their commitment to young people. That's admirable to see.
Yeah, okay. So if you're over 18, you've got a few hours a week to spare. You can get more information by forwarding your details to charlene.logue at donegalyouthservice.ie, or there's a mobile number here as well which we'll retain, 086381 7959. You'd hope for a big uptake, wouldn't you? Because I mean, the sooner you get as many expressions of interest as possible, you can start seeing really what the winter in 2023 has in store.
Completely. And we've had good uptake from some of the minority communities coming forward as well too, as well as the Ukrainian community coming forward. So Garda Vetting's a wee bit difficult, but we're trying to navigate through that, and it's good to see because we'll be able to pull the minority children and young people into local youth clubs as well too. So that's an open hand of friendship as well too across the county.
Now, whilst you say you've over 4,000 students on the book or young people on the books, I know there's people going to be listening. What is this in my area? I've never heard. I've never heard of a youth club in my. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because not everyone gets all their information in the same way. So there's probably too numerous to mention. There's 27 of them around Donegal. That's correct, isn't it?
That's right.
So if someone thinks their child might benefit from engaging with a youth club, how do you get more information?
Well, in the first instance, if they ring me on that number you called out there, 086 381 7959, and I can direct them to the local club, or I can take their details and pass them to the local club if they're interested in their, because most of they are volunteers. It's their own personal phone numbers they're using, so we don't hand those out.
Yeah,
we keep their
Okay, right. So we'll keep those details, those numbers here, if that's something that may be of interest to you. And obviously, there's a personal benefit to volunteering, but there's then what you give to others. And as I say, I've spoken to them in the past, but I wanted to hear it from you. People who have been through it find it very rewarding and stay at it for a very long time.
Yes. Yeah.
But understandably, with the likes of the pandemic, people's priorities and focuses change.
Yeah.
And
we're
fine.
just getting back up and running.
Yeah.
Looking forward
It's
to
good to see it too, isn't it? All right, Charlene, listen, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate
for
it.
giving me the time.
Unless there's anything you want to add, anything upcoming that you need to plug?
Well,
now?
the training's starting.
Yeah, go on.
The clubs are opening. The training starts on Monday, the 19th of September at 6:30.
See, when you said September, right? In my head, that was 6 months away.
I know. It's just creeping up on us.
I didn't even pick up on that because genuinely, I thought that's 6 months away or something.
It's on our tail.
August, that's next month, right? Okay, so when does the training start?
Monday the 19th and Wednesday the 21st.
So people, can you begin the training subject to the vetting? So in other words, that's not a blocker, but obviously you'd need the vetting before you actually start working with young people.
That's it, in a nutshell.
Okay, so don't dilly-dally then. You only have just over a month before the training begins.
Yeah, and the training's not mandatory. This is going to be accredited training that people get that are already working in their youth clubs or volunteering in the youth clubs or volunteering in our projects. But this is for new coming volunteers. There'll be induction training for them, and probably in January this training as accreditation will run again.
Yeah, and people want that.
They do.
It's the first question is, will there be training?
Exactly. Yeah. And as you say, it adds to your CV, it adds to your employability. And there's also recognised child protection awareness training as well too, and that's accredited with a certificate too from the National Youth Council of Ireland. So we're all good.
Okay, fantastic stuff.
Thank
Charlene
you so much.
Logue, it's our pleasure. Charlene Logue, Youth Reach Manager with the Donegal Youth Service.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Student loans now available and free banking for students from your local and friendly credit union. Call 91022126 or email loans@letterkennycu.ie.
The big bucks are back. 4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
Oh, that ain't working.
€2,500 every Friday.
And on the 4th Friday,
Someone also wins
10,000 cash money.
Go to highlandradio.com and get your €10 ticket. It's a whole new meaning to cash flow. Highland Radio.
That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing. Summer's just got better.
Get a great Clarins gift this week from McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Buy 2 Clarins skincare products, one to be moisturiser or serum, and you'll get a choice of 3 treat-sized essentials from a selection of 8. But which 3 will you choose? This great Clarins offer is available while stocks last. In store at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less. For any skincare advice, call in and talk to the resident skincare consultants, Mary or Gemma.
At Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, we know a good pair of trainers makes all the difference, whether you're running marathons or training for your first 5k. We stock all the leading brands, including Asics, Brooks and New Balance, with different styles and features to suit individual running needs. Call in store or shop online at michaelmurphysports.ie.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, you're keeping us nice and busy on the phone lines this morning. Let's crack on to some of those comments. Just listening to your caller, Stephen, about teachers' pay. I'm not a teacher, but I worked in a school for a while and also have great friends who are teachers. Most teachers are working evenings, checking homework and setting a plan for the following day. How does Stephen feel about people looking for a rise for social welfare as they have a 52-year break a year? Hope it works better than this is as it relates to the 4 lanes in Letterkenny. Hope it works better than the traffic lights at Noel McGinley Garage. What a joke. Big wide road leading to a bottleneck, and for the one way up the back road it'll be some crack when the schools reopen. This is the main route into Letterkenny. What if there is an emergency? A barrier will block your ability to let them pass? I don't think so. It's 2 lanes on either side. I don't think there'll be any issues in letting an ambulance up. In fact, it might be quite easier, more organised, because you're only dealing with traffic going in one direction rather than traffic going in both. In relation to the item about someone selling stuff door to door, I personally think this activity should be outlawed. No need for it anymore. I think, too, there's an argument for that because, you know, people in their homes perhaps are more aware of their personal security. They might find it intimidating. I don't know. That was going on about 10 years ago. I caught with it. They were presented in a fancy box for over €200 and I was told there were only 2 left. They were a scam. I bought them for a chef for a wedding present. They're now lying in my shed. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Still sitting there after 10 years in your shed, though. They lasted 10 years, albeit without any use. There used to be lots of those scams. I remember going to a market and there was a person demonstrating something. I can't remember what it was. And I can't remember who it was, but bought the box. The box was all sealed and everything. Got home and opened the box, and there was just some rocks or something in the box weighing it down. That's a different type of a scam, but I don't know if we see that type of stuff much anymore. Right, hi Greg, lots of the teachers do the exam papers during the summer holidays and get well paid for this, be part of their job. Sick of listening to teachers. I think I read that one already. Their day, teachers, is very easy. How dare he? I'm a secondary school teacher and my job is so challenging. I understand most jobs are challenging, but this teacher hate must stop. We do not work a 9 to 4. I'm currently on holidays, but I've spent every hour my baby is sleeping now prepping work for my students. I'll also work long before 9 in the morning and after 4 in the evening. Our pay is spread out over 12 months. It's not technically that we get paid for our holidays. Our pay is less for the time we do work. Okay, so it's more consistency of pay. Another teacher's getting too much money for the time they're at school. Get another job that pays better if you just want more money. But conversely, you know, if they do that, we already have a shortage of students, teachers. We were speaking to a concerned parent yesterday talking about his child going into a class of at least 32. Part of the problem is there enough teachers and enough funding to make those classes where they should be at? I don't think we should be sort of encouraging teachers to leave, but I take your point. That man needs to into a classroom and see the amount of work teachers actually do, and then all the paperwork that's involved. Teachers are angels with what they put up with, and I'm pleased, to be honest with you, to see a bit of balance coming in here, because sometimes you can get a run of teacher bashing, but I think maybe it's because schools are closed at the moment that we are getting different views, which is what I want on the programme as much as is possible. My daughter is a teacher, says this listener. She does have good holidays, but she's also up to 11:30 every night preparing the school lesson for the next day. They don't just rock up and teach, you know. So they deserve the time off and the pay rise because of the hours they put in. The children are so educated today that teachers just don't walk in. They have to have all the answers at hand. That man's very ill-informed. She's a teacher and she works until 10 p.m. at night. I would have been in the same mindset a few years ago. But I have a daughter who is a teacher and I watch her burn herself out, bringing work home and making every effort to teach the children of Ireland. Another, though, agrees with Stephen. The average person is struggling to survive. They have many holidays. The nurses need to be looked after. They are exhausted. Another, Greg, I totally agree with the notion of pedestrianising Letterkenny Main Street. If we want to be more cosmopolitan, we need to move with the times. When the town square is revamped, it's the perfect time to do it. People just ambling up and down, maybe some extra trees, people sitting outside coffee shops, nice parking, maybe even park and ride, go up and you can treat the main street like a big shopping centre, have a few drinks, go into the local shops, wherever you might be. I don't know. It's one notion. I don't know what the business people think, though. They're the anchor tenants there, really, though, aren't they? We had a man in the Gweedore area yesterday going from door to door selling saucepans for €170. He'd tell the owner of every household that the previous house neighbour bought 2 sets. Gardaí have been informed. But the problem is you can inform the Gardaí. I'm not sure what they can do. Unless there is a blatant deception. Right, okay, so that's some of your comments. Let's take a piece of music. Dolly Parton there, 9 to 5. A caller says here, hi Greg, there were also a lot of teachers providing the home-based summer programme, formerly July provision. They get paid about €36 per hour and usually provide 10 hours per week per child. So that means that they have a take-home pay of almost €336 for 10 hours. Right, okay. I believe now we can welcome onto the programme author Claudia Carroll. Claudia, can you hear me? Good morning to you.
I can hear you loud and clear. And, forgive me for being a few minutes late. I was actually on the phone, the landline, to Caroline, your lovely producer.
She's a chatter.
Pardon?
She's a chatter.
Oh, listen, I tell you, I'm a chatter myself, so that's fine. We'll get a...
Okay,
but
no,
anyway.
you're not late at all. We appreciate your time this morning. We're speaking in the context of The Love Algorithm. It's your new book. And this is just the latest book in a hugely successful writing career for you, having sold over 550,000 novels in the UK alone. Is that something you have to pinch yourself on, or is it just matching your expectations? I mean, it's a huge amount of people.
Expectations, are you joking? No, it's just you... It's a weird feeling when a new book comes out, and this is my 18th. It's weird. It's, I'm not a parent, but I often feel it's how a parent must feel when they're looking at a newborn for the first time. They think, oh my God, it's really happening. Like, this came from ideas in your head that you're kind of bouncing around with your agent and your editor, and you hope and you pray it'll see the light of day. But oh my God, you never, well, certainly I don't ever take it for granted.
Like, it must be a lovely feeling, because all the marketing in the world and everything, that might work for your first novel and people might read it and you might show good numbers on a novel number one. But to have sort of that level of success and that longevity over the 18 novels, that means there's something happening between you and the reader, and they're saying something to their friends. There's something else going on there, which must be very satisfying.
Weird alchemy, isn't it? It's that thing of word of mouth. Like, I know in theatre or with movies, word of mouth is just that unfathomable, unquantifiable X factor. And I know myself, just as an avid reader, and I'm sure you're the same, if a pal, like, all the marketing in the world, I mean, it's fantastic. It makes you very aware that a new book is out by maybe a favourite author. But if a pal says to me, oh my God, I read the most incredible book, you have to read it, I'm first in the queue. It's word of mouth, isn't it?
100%. You read critics for entertainment sometime. I wouldn't much at all. But you've seen in recent films, I think like the recent Elvis film, for example, early critics didn't like it, but the audience loved it. And then all of a sudden
it was fabulous. Did you see it?
I've watched some of it. I'm an Elvis fan, and I just thought the first hour that I've watched so far, it's shot in a peculiar way, and I'm going to watch it in a different mood, because I don't think I was in the right mood to watch it, because I was expecting something else. But I'm looking forward to watching it in its entirety. Right, your latest book, The Love Algorithm. It's fact. It's
you
fiction.
Like the title?
I do. It's fiction, but it's fact, isn't it?
You like the title? It was actually my agent who came up with the title, Marianne.
Good for something. No, I'm only joking.
Oh no, she's amazing. Oh
yours
my God,
is, I'm sure.
incredible.
Yours is,
But I'm often asked, where do you get the ideas for your books? And I've always said, I don't know if you agree, but for me, real life trumps any fiction you could possibly make up. And I'm often pitching ideas and stories to my editor, and she'll go, oh darling, it's too far-fetched, particularly with some of the dating horror stories in The Love Algorithm. And I'm going, the ones that she said were far-fetched, they are 100% truthful. Yeah. So you think, real life trumps fiction. So the idea for this one came from a story I read about a very respectable, sort of 40-something, very successful woman living in the city, working in financial analysis, really, on top of her game, plenty of money, great job, great career, single, doesn't want to be single. And she signed up to a very premium dating website, one of the ones that eliminates messers, because you have to pay a fee. So you think, well, that's good, because, you're not getting Egypts, she thought. And she met a very nice guy who ticked a lot of boxes. They were messaging and back and forth phone calls, getting on like a house on fire. So I don't know if you're an aficionado of online dating, but certainly in COVID, it was the only way to meet anyone, because you couldn't even meet your family, never mind anything romantic. So, but what comes out of it, certainly for me, is that for a first date, and I have been on many, coffee. because coffee's kind of, half an hour, maybe a bit longer if you're getting on, but it's quite acceptable. It's safe. There's people around, and it's quite acceptable after 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour to say, you know what, thank you so much. It was great to meet you. I wish you the best of luck. Or for the person you're dating to say that to you, and that's there. That, that goes on. So this guy with this very successful woman suggested dinner, and it wasn't just an ordinary dinner. It was dinner in a very high-end Dublin restaurant. And she thought, oh my God, like, I think this fella actually might like me. And her friends are all saying, God, like, he's prepared to push the boat out, your first meeting. And obviously everything's split down the middle. So they met for the dinner, and your man comes in and they're getting on like really well. And it's a steakhouse restaurant, and she's vegetarian. So he's ordering tapas dishes, all beef, pork, lamb, duck. And she's like nibbling on a bit of green salad, because that's all there is on the menu if you're a vegetarian. And he started on the wine list, and he orders like a phenomenally expensive bottle of wine. And she's driving, so she's on tap water. So she's thinking to herself, yeah, the bill is going to be great crack, because I'm actually still hungry here. And he ate. The meal ended, it was cleared away, and your man says, just, excuse me, I'll be back in a moment. And she does what we all do when we're left on our own at a table for two. She gets out the phone, she pretends to be all busy and, texting the friends. It's going well, I think it's going well. And the friends are going, this is great, tell us how it ends up. And the next thing, the waiter comes over and says, Madam, I'm so sorry, but we actually did say to you we'd need the table back by a certain time. And she goes, oh, right, okay. Well, the gentleman I was with, is he maybe in the bathroom? So the waiter went, okay, I'll go and check, and came back to the table and said, no, not there. And she thought, okay. And she ran out onto the street outside just to see, is he maybe on a call? Was there an emergency? Is he having a sneaky cigarette? And he'd gone. He'd just gone.
Yeah.
So she went on her phone, called his number. Her number's blocked. She's blocked. Went on the agency website where they met. And in that space of time, he deleted his profile. So she thought, what am I going to do about the bill? Like, I've got to pay, the staff. We can't expect the staff to pay for it. It's not their fault. So this extortionate bill arrived, and she had to pay it and walk out of there, in shock.
Yeah, and I would suggest, and I'm not sure if it's covered. His motivation there wasn't simply to get a free meal. He derived some sort of pleasure out of inflicting that on her.
Catfishes. This is it. I completely agree. It's like catfishes. I've been catfished by somebody who I thought was a man who turned out to be a woman. I've been catfished by somebody pretending to be Gabriel Byrne. Like as if Gabriel Byrne is going to be on a dating site, because we all know him to be happily married. But it was kind of that 0.0001% chance of, God, maybe it is Gabriel Byrne, because at the time he was doing a show in Dublin, and I only know because I went to see the show and it was really brilliant. So I just came up with this character, Iris, who has had this horrific experience on an online date, humiliating, awful, cost her a fortune. And she says, you know what? I'm coding since I was a teenager. It's algorithms sending me these Egypts. So why don't I just devise my own dating website and see if I can't do better, because I certainly couldn't do worse. And she needs to rope in, she's 40, so she needs to rope in kind of Generation Z, which is like yourself, young, early 20s, fresh out of college, and then older, like the Silver Surfers, who are active daters. Yeah. Maybe people 70, 75 plus, who maybe have been widowed, who've been newly separated, or maybe who've never been in a long-term relationship, and who just want companionship, not necessarily fireworks and love and all that romance and passion the way the 20-something.
Well, they've worked it all out. They've worked it all out as to what's important and what the reality is.
This is it. Yes.
And what the futility of jealousy or envy or anything like that. They've worked it out for the most part. They've worked it out that really this is just about getting on with someone and sharing memories and having time with them.
And it changes. I don't know if you agree, but it does change as you age. Like in your, certainly at my hour of life, 50s, you don't want family. You just want, maybe if there's stepkids involved, you'd be up for that. But it just changed. You just think, wouldn't it be lovely to go out with your friends who are part of couples with someone? Wouldn't it be amazing? And I found, I did a lot of research for this all through COVID. And I tell you, the dating horror stories, far outweigh the success stories.
I think we're kind of sold a lie, because the impression might be given, regardless of whether it's a free app or the most expensive, that it's easy. But love and your heart and matters of the heart are the great leveler. It's not easy, and then maybe you can chase something under the impression that it is easy. And then maybe that's where we can let our guards down and we become as vulnerable. And the examples you give of a person who could be running an office with 100 people in, and one person can come in and pull the wool over their eyes, that it would never happen in any other environment. But because it's a matter of the heart, it just it's trust.
And, it's like anything that involves trust. It's like, say, going on, for instance, a website where, like, say, Airbnb, which, people have phenomenal, stay in the most incredible places. But it's trust. You trust that this person is telling the truth about the home that's available. And
there's no cameras in the bathroom.
That's where trust breaks down.
I know.
It's just, online dating now, I have met, it's such a success if it works. Like I have been to weddings, I'm sure you have, where the couple met online. A lot of COVID romances came out of it, because, as we were saying earlier, that's the only way. It was the only way in level 5 lockdown to meet anyone. Like, you couldn't even meet your family, never mind anyone romantic. But also, it's just I know in my case, it's the triumph of optimism over experience. You just think, okay, I had a bad experience. I was asked for money. We won't go there again. But you just hope that the next one will work out better. And
I wonder, is trust is not a bottomless well either, though. And I just wonder if people who, serial, and that's meant with no negative connotation. So serial app users, where you go on numerous dates, if trust can be chipped away to the point where there's none left.
It can be, yeah. And I can understand how people go, oh, you know what? I'm throwing my hat at it. I've had enough of just messers online. And that's what happens, Iris, in the love algorithm. And that story I told you about being, the restaurant and doing a runner, that was what tips her into going, okay, I can't do worse. I'm designing my own app.
Right. We haven't talked about Iris, because that's what we're here to talk. So
she comes up with an app, and it's called Analyzed. And the whole idea is that you have to answer about 40 questions, quite thorough, like almost Proustian, almost Freudian, before you're even allowed on the site. And her users are saying, and she it gains traction pretty quickly, and her users are saying, my God, I've met someone who in a million years our paths would never have crossed. We're from such different walks of life. And I think this might have legs. And it's just, she isn't meeting anyone herself, but it's doing her heart good to see other people around her happily getting matched and having success on her app. So I won't tell you what happens, but I'll tell you the research for this one. I could have written an encyclopedia, never mind a novel. I could have written 5 books.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other characters in this as well, isn't there? Kim and Connie. What's their relationship?
They're mother and daughter. And Connie is my older character. Connie is in her 70s. She was married young, and she was widowed youngish, and she doesn't want fireworks, not looking for marriage or to move in with someone or anything like that. She has her own life, thank you very much. She's comfortably off. She has the widow's pension, all is good. She just wants someone to go to the movies with. Like you were talking about Elvis earlier. It's hard going to a movie on your own. I find it hard. It's much more fun to go with someone, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's like that, or just out for a nice dinner with, or just someone to chat to at the end of the day. Simple things. Kim, on the other hand, who's like 23, in a great job. She's an actuary, and she's really good at her job. And she doesn't care. It's all ahead of her. She just wants to go and care with her friends. She's dating a different fella every night of the week. And the worse the date, she thinks, absolutely don't care. Plenty of time to meet someone. The worse the date, the funnier a story I get to tell in work the next day. And she does. And she's had some howlers as well. So it was just great fun to write. And I had to do like nearly all of COVID. I'd say I was doing the research for this, nearly all of the 2.5 years we were locked up. And it just brightened my day hearing some of the stories out there. My God.
And I presume the reader will relate to the characters, will relate to the stories. I presume there's some laughs in there as well, judging by some of the
comedy.
setups.
I mean, it is
Yeah.
an absolute romantic comedy.
It couldn't be
But-
anything else, could it? Really, with
But
some of the
exactly,
scenarios you've been
yeah.
outlining.
Well, you know, I mean, you can write about, this couple met and it was just happily ever after. Where's the drama in that? Why would you want to read that? You go, like, you could tell that in a paragraph, never mind a novel. It's only funny when things go skew ways. May I ask, are you single? Have you ever done the online dating?
No,
Are you happily matched?
not really. Yeah, happily matched. I haven't. But you know, in this day and age, you hear from everybody's experiences around you. Do you know what I mean? So it's all kind of, and people use different types of apps and get different types of things. It's, I don't envy being in that space. I think.
Yeah, I know. Certainly,
I
yeah.
understand it, but I just.
Whoa.
But a lot of it, a lot of my insecurities and my weaknesses and my overthinking. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily criticism of others on it or the app. It's just the way I am. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it would suit me greatly.
But I understand. But the only thing is, in days of yore, you know, pre-digital age, pre-internet dating, pre-internet, how did we meet somebody? You know, like in the early 90s, when I'd be going out, you'd just be out with your pals on a Saturday night over a weekend and you'd have a few drinks and you just hope maybe you'd be in a bar and you'd get yakking to somebody and it would go from there, or through friends of friends. That was, you know, a great way to meet, or through work. Was often a terrific way to
Or
meet.
if you go out with a group of 4 or 5 people and there's someone sort of on the edge of the crowd and you're chatting and, you know, you're looking at each other, you know, I think the starting point being how you look is, you know, a headshot. I just think then people have to. I don't know how long they spend after that trying to get to the bottom of the person,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think a lot of, I mean, sadly, Irish, in my limited experience, albeit limited, I have to stress, but I have found a lot of people in this country don't put, like, particularly, certainly the fellas I would have met online, they're not putting enough thought into the profile. And the photos, I mean, I've seen fellas online with photos and it's a wedding photo where they are clearly the groom with the, you presume, bride chopped out, like just this bare arm.
I suppose at least you know they're probably previously married. Maybe it's like the opposite of catfish. I don't know what the opposite of catfishing is, but that's the opposite of it.
Well, I suppose, but of all the photos you could have used, your wedding
do you think
photos,
that would fall into the red flag category?
For me, I would go, interesting choice of picture. You know, if I were newly separated, I wouldn't be posting a wedding picture.
Yeah.
I'd post a picture of me as I am now today, because you can't lie online. You'll be found out. You'll be found out.
But it's whether it's on that initial meeting or in 3 weeks' time or whenever it might be.
This is a 5-minute FaceTime would tell me I'm being catfished. If I'm really onto Gabriel Byrne, 2 minutes on a FaceTime call and I'll know if you are Gabriel Byrne. But then when they start going, can't talk now, can't do FaceTime, you know, at the weekend, and then you don't hear, you go, yeah, right, Gabriel Byrne, good luck.
And you know what? And this is too, and it kind of is in the same space too, and it's exploiting our vulnerabilities and other things, is the romance fraud. It's massive in this country at the moment.
Funny. Looking for him. Yeah, and it happens.
Huge,
Oh, it happens in every, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Tinder swindler. And I had something similar to a very lesser extent. Like I was asked for a temporary loan, but this was the first time I'd met somebody and I thought, you know, I don't know about you, but I have friends 30 years and I'd be too mortified to ask them for money. Look, I'd rather starve. But, it does go on. And again, it's that thing of trust. And if people with really heartbreaking stories and having surgery, my health insurance is run out. I need to pay for consultants and all of this, and I'll pay you back.
But it's it's the amount of time they're prepared to put into it as well. You know, they drop little seeds. Right. A caller says, bring back the slow sets at the end of the night. There used to be a couple of slow sets.
I remember.
That is. Will
you tell?
How many marriages are now because of the slow set?
Remember, it was always when Careless Whisper, George Michael came on in my day. And for girls, for fellas, it was probably worse because they had to be the one to do the asking 90% of the time. But for girls, it was like, right, do I run to the bathroom with my pals and redo the lipstick? Or do I hang around on the periphery of the dance floor and hope I'm asked up?
It's so exciting, though. I kind of feel sorry for the young ones that don't have that excitement of, oh, he's coming, is he coming, is she coming, you know what I mean? You kind of...
Yeah, and especially with somebody you liked,
Yeah,
you know. And
okay.
but yes, I agree 100% with the caller. Would that there were slow sets. What a daft idea getting rid of them.
Right. We have to go. The Love Algorithm is out now. It's from Claudia Carroll. We've talked around it and all about it, but I hope the listeners have got a good sense of what it's about. And I'm sure most of them have read your work previously. It's been an absolute delight chatting to you, Claudia, and I do appreciate your time.
Not at all. It's just a pleasure. And thank you so much again. And thank you, Caroline, if she's listening.
Yes, she'll probably ring you for another 2-hour chat when I get off the
I hope so. I wish she would. She doesn't.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks so much. All right, bye-bye. That's Claudia Carroll. Her book, The Love Algorithm, is available for you right now in all the usual places. You know where you're going to find it.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Make the most of the great weather with Homeland Summer Garden Clearance. There's the Omega 200 gas barbecue, €179. Save €50. Madrid patio planters, buy one get one free. Kids TV tent, only $29.99. Save €20. Shop the full range of offers in-store and online at homeland.ie while stocks last.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
Visit Knock Shrine from the 14th to the 22nd of August. Hear from guest speakers at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. daily with something for everyone to feel enriched and inspired.
Don't miss our family day on Sunday the 21st of August from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m, bringing you a wonderful range of fun activities for all ages, face painting, kite making and much more, all on the beautiful grounds of Knock Shrine. Find out more at knockshrine.ie.
Knock Shrine, culture, faith and prayer since 1879.
New acres payment rates revealed. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Farmers will be paid to plant trees, hedgerows and leave land idle. We have all the payment details. We have essential heatwave advice for keeping you and your animals safe. Find out which counties will likely see stocking rate cuts. Plus save tax by paying your children for farm work.
And pick up an entry form inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal for your chance to win €10,000 with Zurich Farm Insurance. In shops now.
Okay, by a coincidence of scheduling, we're going to be joined by Keely very shortly answering your relationship questions. Then at 11:30 we're going to be answering and advising you on barbecues and all that type of stuff. But it's a minute past 11, time to catch up on what's happening in the world of news. And it's good morning once again, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A public consultation is being launched later this year on the reduction of the speed limit on the completed 4-lane road between the Dry Arch roundabout and the Polestar roundabout. The speed limit is currently reduced to 50 km per hour due to the roadworks, but prior to the works the speed limit was 100 km per hour. It is now proposed that the speed limit will be reduced to 60 km per hour after the roadworks are complete. Councillor Jeremy McMonigal says a public consultation will be held in October and it is important that people have their say on the busy road. Our water usage will need to drastically change as climate change puts more pressure on supply, according to an expert. Over 20 supplies have been impacted by shortages. Over 60 other supplies around the country, some of them in Donegal, are being closely monitored, according to Irish Water. Meanwhile, Irish Water says repairs to burst mains may cause supply disruption to Glentoher, Carndonagh and the surrounding areas in North Inishowen today. Secondary school teachers are calling for a significant improvement in pay to help offset spiralling inflation. All public sector unions will be balloted on possible strike action next month. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, ASTI General Secretary Kieran Christie said the cost of living is at an all-time high and what the government is offering is nowhere near enough. Met Éireann has issued a fresh warning for high temperatures nationwide. It's released a status yellow warning for the entire country, valid from tomorrow at 12 noon until Sunday morning. The forecaster says there's a risk of heat stress and water-related incidents. The Finance Minister says there could be significant consequences if a windfall tax on energy companies was to be applied in next month's budget, while Pascal Donoghue hasn't categorically ruled out introducing such a task. He's outlined reasons why it could be counterproductive to do so. Donegal TD Pierce Doherty previously called for a windfall tax to be introduced after the increase in revenues for companies supplying wind energies were revealed. And finally, a pop-up COVID-19 vaccine clinic is being held in Dunloe this week. The clinics will run on Monday or on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5:15 p.m. at the Community Mental Health Hub in the town. First, second and booster doses for those aged over 12 and over will be available, as well as first and second boosters for over 65s. That's all for now. We'll be back with more news again at 12 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 07495 32575.
Finally, a real summer where we have choices again. Get-togethers, garden barbecues, match trips, beach days. Choose Centra for fresh bakery and salads, a delicious barbecue range, exclusive award-winning wines, and chilled beers from around the globe. Celebrate summer. Choose Centra. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy sensibly.
Okay, so I think a lot of people in the teaching profession would feel that we are just about to start the annual pile-on on teachers. It's not something I'm comfortable being a part of, and that's why I'm grateful for people who are either our teachers or who support them contacting the programme. Amongst them, Fiona, who is herself a teacher. Hi, Fiona.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. So, when you hear this conversation starting, how does it make you feel as a teacher?
To be honest, at this stage, it's more water off a duck's back because you're just so used to it by now. But it's more, you just know that people who are on the other side of this teacher profession are just disinformed.
Where do they get it wrong? What do people who criticise teachers most often not get about the job?
I suppose the first thing I heard a mention there of a pay rise in your show earlier, and from my point of view, it definitely wouldn't be a pay rise, it's a pay restoration, because for myself, I qualified in 2013, and if I had qualified in 2010, my pay would have been higher. So if I'm working with someone next door who qualified from 2010 or before that, they're getting paid more than me, even though we're doing the exact same job. So that would be one thing.
So even before we even talk about pay increases versus inflation and bridging that gap, for someone like yourself, this is about equal pay.
It would be equal pay, yeah, but at the same time, as I said, it's water if it ducks back to me at this stage because I love my job and I wouldn't change it for the world. Yes, it's annoying, and yes, I'm in a fortunate position that I am in a permanent position right now. It took a long time to get there, but as someone, as you said, with inflation and everything else, I struggled to get a mortgage in this country with a permanent position because I was a lower paid teacher.
Mm-hmm. What else? You were going to go on to a second point, Fiona.
The summer provision, someone had mentioned on your show earlier that they get €36 an hour, so say for 10 hours a week it would be $360. I've done the summer provision for that last number of years purely to have that extra income. Come November time, you always see it as money in the bank or as Christmas paid for. But it is taxed 2/3 is another point because it's considered a second job. So if someone had the opinion that you're taking home €360 a week for that, it's totally wrong.
But also, there are people listening to us who are teachers who maybe are struggling to send children to third level, for example, and doing that work might make them not eligible for a Susie grant or something. You know, I mean, there are people that, you know, it's not like free money or anything. Even with it being heavily taxed, people sometimes, or maybe often, don't do it because they're struggling on the teacher's pay to the extent that they would lose benefits that allow them, like the Susie grant, for example, that allow them actually just to educate their own children.
There's a real struggle for parents to get any teachers to do summer provision for those reasons. And I know the parent who I worked with said if they couldn't have got me, they wouldn't have bothered trying, because I've been working with them for the past number of years. We have a great relationship built up, but it's a real struggle to try to get anyone new to do it because they just see it as not worth it because of those reasons you mentioned.
Who do you think stirs this up, Fiona? I mean, like, I'm just looking at what's happening across the water, for example. You can see what's happening with the rail unions. They're looking for better pay. The government's having a go at them. They're outlining the reasons why they should be paid more. And then obviously the public, like this issue here, some will say, they're getting well paid as it is, and others will say, it's very important that people are paid for the work that they do. I'm not sure really there's any common ground on this. It is all just white noise really around topics like this, I think. Just the general discourse.
Yeah, it's a white noise, but it's a very easy clickbait in this day and age as well. You have a lot of keyboard warriors, you have a lot of people who are very opinionated, and you have a lot of people who want to put their annoyances out there to the world, and I find it very seasonal. You'll always see this happening in August, whether it be in the radio, in the newspapers or online. This always comes up, and at this stage it's just monotonous because people in my position who are teaching, you just, as I said earlier, you just kind of ignore it at this stage because it is very easy to get annoyed about it, and it is very easy to become to put your defences up towards it. But you do a good job throughout the rest of the year, so there's no point getting stressed about it.
If you go out, say for instance, a hypothetical, or any of your colleagues, Fiona, and you meet a group of people and they say, "How are you getting on?" "Yeah, I do this," and then you say, "I'm Fiona, I'm a teacher." Do people say things like that to your face, or is it mainly sort of behind the security of a keyboard? In other words, I'm just wondering, do you feel you have to not even defend yourself or explain yourself? You might choose not to. But are people inclined to say the same stuff to your face as you might read online, for example? Hello, Fiona. Unfortunately, the line's breaking up on us there. Can you hear me, Fiona?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. The question was, do people say this stuff to your face?
50-50. It depends on the person. If you know them well enough and they know you work hard. But then other people, they tend to actually, sure, you have a handy number, sure, you work 9 to 3, you're off June, July and August or whatever. It just depends on the person, because I know I have family members who would have been of the opinion before I trained that all teachers have a handy number, but since then they have been helping me do things and they realise, no, actually it's not the way it is. But my only piece of advice for those who do think, it's a handy number and they have a nice wee job and the summer's off, is it's never too late to retrain. Come on ahead, we're dying for subs.
Is there a difference between primary and secondary school? Is it more difficult to teach in primary school? I think just maybe there's more supports in secondary school. That could be completely untrue. But is there a difference, do you think, in how difficult the job is primary versus secondary?
I suppose I can only speak from my point of view, and I've been teaching primary, is that it's changed so much. I've been qualified for the last 8 years, and it's changed so much in the time I've been qualified that you have huge class sizes, you have huge variety of needs, you have huge percentage of pupils now, especially with English as an additional language, and you have very limited funding for resources or SNA access. So the job is getting harder, but at the same time you have to keep up with the job.
Yeah, and listen, I'm glad this conversation's happened in August and not September, so I can get an opportunity to hear from the likes of yourself, Fiona, rather than sort of speaking about teachers, because you're all at work in September. So I appreciate you speaking to me. I really do, and putting that the other side of it across. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. That is Fiona there. 08660 25,000. Keely Taverner is going to be answering your relationship questions in a mo.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Sizing, bagging, separating. Sizing, bagging, separating. Flying soon from Dublin Airport? Use these simple tips to help you bring liquids, gels, pastes and sprays through security. For more, visit dublinairport.com/prepare.
Fancy an adventure? Pack up the car and enjoy a day out with the National Trust in Fermanagh. Find magnificent mansions, tree-lined trails and riverside rambles. Go butterfly spotting at Castle Cool. Hire a bike at Florence Court and explore Lough Erne by boat at Crom. Watch the sunset from your tent or glamping pod. Explore and re-explore, adventure and re-adventure. Search National Trust NI to find out more. National Trust. For everyone, forever.
The uniform is ironed, the copybooks are fresh, the bags are waiting at the door, you are ready for back to school. Wait a second, you have to feed them too. Don't worry, at Lidl there's bags of savings to be had. We've got a healthy 25% off loads of lovely lunch stuff like yogurts, meats, cheeses and juices through the Lidl Plus app. Now that's an inflation busting offer worth studying. Make school cost less with Lidl. More for you.
At Cooney's Home Interiors, we pride ourselves on offering you the very best in choice, quality and value on all home furnishings. Treat your home with a visit to Cooney's today and choose from our large range of suites, tables, beds, not to mention our large selection of home accessories. Our motto is, if you see it, you can buy it, and we will deliver it to your door. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Style and perfection at incredible value.
It's time to upgrade. Remember, when upgrading, even a few years, you're looking at better fuel efficiency and enhanced safety features. With the largest selection of pre-owned vehicles available in Donegal, at iMotors, we are confident we have your next car. All of our cars come with up to 12-month warranty. Call into us in Letterkenny or Malin or check out imotors.ie.
Okay, now we were talking before 11 o'clock, I suppose, about relationships in the fictional world, but informed by the real world, of course. And now we're going to be talking to Keely Taverner, psychotherapist, author and coach, answering your questions. Keely, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to have you back on the programme again. Yeah, we were talking to author Claudia Carroll. Her latest book, The Love Algorithm, is out, and it's sort of talking about and focusing on online dating. I seem to recall in the past, I mean, it's individual, isn't it? Would you be more inclined to encourage people to maybe take up hobbies and join clubs or whatever and try and meet people that way? Or do you think... I just think sometimes it can take away from you so much before you actually get it right in the online world. What's your views?
I think there's something really important about getting out there and meeting people in the flesh. We know all too often, you know, we've all heard about the catfishes and people who aren't necessarily genuine. But more than that, in terms of, you know, sometimes getting out there, for example, exploring a hobby, an area of interest, means that you're also developing yourself, you're putting yourself out there, and you'll meet people and you're able to make assessments on people based on what you see then and there, which is not always as easy online. And I think people are kind of automatically opting online and forgetting that actually there are other ways to meet. You know, there are the old kind of traditional ways, but sometimes it might be about what is an area of interest or passion that you may have. Pursue that, where you're much more likely to come across people who have similar interests.
And I said, I was chatting to Claudia too, I don't think trust is sort of, there's an infinite supply of it. And I just feel over the course of a year or 2 years, if things not working out, that it could just be chipped away to the point whereby, you know, your ability to enter into a relationship with someone, you know, might be handicapped from the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah, because you could become jaded. And I think, again, there is a myth actually about intimate relationships as if they will fulfill you. And I think sometimes that leads us on this kind of desperate search for the one, perpetually looking and hoping and then feeling disappointed and then almost retrying again. I've got many clients who I encourage, maybe you need to take time out. There's this real kind of hope that I'll meet someone and that will be the answer to my life woes. And actually, they just go from perpetual disappointment to perpetual disappointment. So if we were to redistribute our attention, focus on the things you love. What about your potential? What have you abandoned? What childhood dreams did you have? Play the piano, go to a class, meet people in the flesh.
Yeah,
can be a
volunteer,
wonderful
it could be
opportunity.
anything. Yeah, okay. Let's get to some questions. My friend and her boyfriend always fall out when they're drunk. It's got to the point where I actually made a comment that we were nearing the end of the night without any drama. I spoke too soon. 10 minutes later, one stormed out. We had to follow, and that was the night over. They're a lovely couple the rest of the time, but when there's drink on board, they row. Is this a bad sign, the listener says?
It means that there's things potentially that are going on that they're not mentioning. Alcohol is a disinhibitor. So when they're disinhibited, the underlying issues then arise. And that is why perpetually, maybe on the surface, everything looks okay, but once they're disinhibited by a drink, then the issues are emerging in a public place in front of people, which may mean there are underlying issues that aren't being spoken about. The key would be to begin to start to try endeavor to speak about those issues.
Yeah, and it sounds too like it's like when there's a lot of drink on board, and in any scenario, if one person's inclined to be a bit edgy with drink on, it's the inevitable is going to happen every time it happens.
Exactly. But like I said, it's usually about what isn't being said.
Yeah.
Alcohol is giving them the permission. And let's be honest, you're not going to be as discerning when you say it when you're under the influence of drink. It means that something's not being said. There's potentially underlying resentments.
Yeah, okay. Been dating someone for a few months and we get on very well, but we seem to have found ourselves in an exhausting cycle of verbal sparring, which is flirtatious, but can be quite cutting and hurtful. So, for example, I might be telling a story about something that happened to me, and he'll interject with something like, I think that you mentioned such and such makes you sound clever or sophisticated, but actually it makes you sound why. I will then laugh and counter back with something to take him down a peg or two. It's done in such a way that he never is quite insulting me, and in all fairness, when I tease him back, he takes it well. I don't want to seem like I can't take a joke, but I want it to stop. This sounds like edgy banter quite a few months into a relationship, Keely.
It makes me wonder whether there's something unequal. You take me down, I take you down. It's like a race to the bottom. My encouragement would be, if there's a specific thing that's been said, when you're not in that phase of bantering, go back to that and say, when you said that, I just wonder what you meant, or if you could explain more, because that pinched me. And it's better I have a conversation with you about that than to pretend it didn't.
I know they just gave one example, but you'd have to be careful as well that that's not just the early start of controlling behaviour to bring someone down chip by chip by chip to the point whereby they can have them precisely where they want them.
Well, it potentially could be, but at the moment it seems mutual. Again, it feels like there could be an unequalness, that she spoke about him sort of suggesting that she thinks she's above. That could also mean sometimes if we're dating someone who might be from different backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, class backgrounds, there can be underlying resentments around that. I would endeavour to have clarity around what do they actually mean.
Could it be that he was raised in a house whereby the father was the authority figure, maybe something somewhat old-fashioned, and either consciously or subconsciously he's trying to tease out his own place in his relationship or something? I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, the thing is with humans, there's so many potential dynamics.
Yeah.
There's so many variables. But the one variable to pay attention to is the impact it's had on.
Yeah. Now, your advice, and it sounds like fantastic advice, is to return to it at a different point when it's not in a banter situation. Those are the conversations that people have difficulty having, try to avoid, and in doing so, that's where the problems are exacerbated, is it?
But that's where the bantering continues,
yeah.
and it a bit like the previous caller. That's where then the arguments in the pub start, because actually the real issue has not been confronted. The thing we fear is often the thing we need to face. The thing is, if you don't face it, it will still show up in your relationship through banter, insults, and behaviors. So if you choose to not tackle it overtly, innovertly, is that the word?
Inadvertently? No.
There you go. It will come up.
Yeah.
It will come up where you'll have less control over it, where it's highly likely to go somewhere you don't really want it to go.
A lot of people, we get lots of texts, and 3 in this week, Keely, where people are going out with someone for a certain amount of time that they met on social media, and then they go and check and they're still on apps. So rather than ask them individually, I'm just going to group that in. It seems to be something that happens an awful lot. Mostly the fellas from those that are texting in, although women might be just more inclined to text in an item like this, I don't know. But it's men still on dating apps after a couple of months, and the partners don't know how to broach it or what to say or what does it mean.
Well, firstly, it would be important to, if you meet someone on an app and you felt that the relationship was progressing, and that you were mutually on the same page, to ask the question, have you come off the app? Therefore, should they say yes or no, you then have a conversation about potentially why that person wants to keep their options open if you want to close your option. You're in different spaces. That's important to understand. If someone lies to you and then later you do your due diligence and do a little bit of a surf and you see that they are, that potentially is a breach of trust. Something about your instincts, you might be noticing something that's not right, because I'd be more curious about, well, what is it about them that makes me want to search to see if they're on? So at some level, you've got a hunch that something's not right, or you could just be someone who's particularly paranoid. It could be either or both. Trust is potentially going to be compromised if you feel that they've lied to you. Again, that's worthy of a conversation. You need to be able to talk about that. If you've noticed that the person's online, if you avoid that conversation, it will only show up in potentially passive-aggressive behaviors. You can avoid it, but it will show up in your behavior, or have the direct conversation. And you're going to feel uncomfortable. Your voice may tremble. You may have sweat down your back, and know that that's okay, because you're confronting it head on rather than avoidance.
I don't get on with my girlfriend's best friend. I think she's jealous or thinks that I'm purposely trying to get between the two of them. It's obviously putting in a strain on our relationship. How can I try and fix this? I want my partner to be happy.
Well, it would make me curious about what are the specifics around the friend that you find difficult, so that you're clear about that. And if, for example, you find it difficult to be around that person, I think you need to communicate that with your partner, but also check what actually is going on with you within that instance, because it could be that, what is it about them that gets under your skin?
Could there be a bit of a lack of self-awareness around that message?
Absolutely, because if we just focus on someone else, we may miss what's also going on. You may feel uncomfortable with their bond. Their bond, their relationship, where does that leave you? How does that impact upon you? Are you someone that wants to be the beacon of your partner's eye? And you might feel uncomfortable about previous relationships, friendships. Most of us won't say yes to questions like that. This is why it's good to kind of look inwards. Sometimes there might be a friend. One of the ways I like to, if someone irritates me or there's something I don't like about someone, I ask myself, what is it about them that reminds me of me? Because often what we do is we project onto people, but actually it's our own stuff. So there's something about that person that reminds me of aspects of myself I don't like. Does it make sense? And often in that instance, we're projecting stuff we don't want to admit about ourselves onto somebody else. So get curious about your reaction and ask yourself, are you threatened by that relationship? That way you're going in rather than trying to find things about them that are problematic.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. I'm 24, ruining mine and my partner's relationship. Sorry, I am ruining mine and my partner's relationship. This is coming from one person. Firstly, I'd almost like to speak to this person myself, because they're obviously taking an awful lot on themselves, and it will become clear in a moment. I've got very bad health anxiety. to the point where I'm crying and having panic attacks regularly. My partner broke down and said he can't do this anymore and that I'm too stressful and that he always tries to be there for me, but it's too much. He said it might be our age gap, but I don't think I'm immature in other aspects. It's just my health anxiety. Now, that person needs to focus, whether this person's going to support them or not, focus on speaking to the right people and even maybe getting the right medical advice or medication to sort themselves out here, because they're living an absolute nightmare with health anxiety and panic attacks. I know a bit about this myself. And then they're trying to keep a relationship together as well. And it's seemingly taking all the responsibility. So I really feel for this person. Keely, what's your advice?
My encouragement is that you would need to focus on your health anxiety, because it's spilling out into other aspects of your life, which is only right. Because we can't just silo our mental health problems. It will seep into jobs, relationships, career, and so on and so forth. By taking, responsibility for your own well-being, that is always the way to go. And that may mean you need to think about, are you engaging with your doctors? Are you engaging with mental health services? What about your lifestyle? Health anxiety would also, to my mind, have deeper roots in your history. And my hope would be that you can get help around getting underneath what that's about, what potentially often is linked to trauma, so that you get some support, which is more than, your 6 sessions of CBT, that if you are engaging with mental health services, that hopefully, potentially, you might be requesting something called EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, reprogramming for trauma, in order to help you, move on, understand the health anxieties that you have, because it's only natural that will impact on all aspects of your life, and most acutely into relationships.
What can she expect from her partner in this situation? I mean, putting to one side the age gap at the moment, if it got to the point where the partner broke down and said he can't do it anymore, are they in it together, or is he sort of almost like an observer to what's going on, if you know what I mean? And she's just trying to hold it together as much as she can and shield it from him. Do you read anything into the language being used there?
In terms of the partner?
Yeah, like, could they be doing more?
I think it depends. I think it depends on the nature of the partner. I think sometimes you might have someone who's highly empathic in a relationship, and sometimes an empathic person will take on disproportionate responsibility, almost make it their problem. And I think that can become problematic if you become a perpetual rescuer. I know, people who are highly empathic often become rescuers. So again, it does come back down to taking responsibility, for her own issues and getting appropriate help. Because sometimes this is one of the ways that codependent relationships can start. If we start to externalize, have disproportionate expectations that someone can rescue us, they will often fail us. Or it can create codependent relationships, which also do become unhealthy and toxic. So I think it's important that there's an awareness and that they are in relationships. And obviously age dynamics can result in sometimes us having a partner who might be a parental figure. Relationships are complex. But again, I'm an advocate of self-responsibility.
Yeah. No, I get you. Right, other than run, finally, what's your advice? I caught my partner with 2 mobile phones and 4 different SIM cards, yet he claims it was all very innocent and he's not playing about. He admitted to talking to one person, but nothing happened. Any advice on what to do? I can't see any scenario where someone, well, I can think of a couple of scenarios, and it wouldn't be for trying to hide relationships, while someone might have 2 mobile phones and 4 different SIM cards. So they've kind of admitted to chatting to someone. It went nowhere. What's your advice for this person, Keely?
I think one of the issues that I notice when people come into therapy and they're talking about problems with partners and deceitful behavior is often there's a disproportionate focus on what the partner says. My encouragement is to go into what is happening with you. Focus on you. Is that a breach, a betrayal of trust? What do you need to do to protect yourself? Often, we want people to care about our needs, our need for trust. It's not someone else's responsibility to care about what you need. It's your responsibility. if this isn't something that works for you in a relationship, maybe you need time out to think about the impact that that's had upon you. People who are untrustworthy can be very great with thinking on their feet and come up with great stories that you can buy into. What does your gut say? What does your intuition say? What do you need in this situation? Rather than focusing externally on your partner and his behaviors, attempts to redeem himself, what do you need? That's your responsibility.
Okay. Keely Taverner is a psychotherapist, author and coach based in Britain, but works remotely as well. I think many couples, perhaps before you pull the pin all together or whatever, might benefit from a session or two just to see where they are at. Presumably they can contact you, Keely, if someone wants to speak to you. What's the website address again?
It's keyforchange.com.
Okay.
Number 4 or FOR.
Oh, you've it all covered. Keely, listen, thanks so much for your time. All right, take care of yourself and see you soon. That's Keely Taverner there. Okay, hopefully that was of some help to some of you out there.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Inishowen Credit Union has recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonagh, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Getting value on your shopping has never been more important. That's why at Super Value we have great offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Strip Loin Steak save 33%, Fairy Non-Bio Powder 75 wash only €10, and get new weekly money off vouchers on the Real Rewards app. For low prices that compete with anyone, it's got to be Super Value.
Everyone loves a night out at the cinema. There's a whole new experience waiting for you at the Regal Room Eclipse Cinemas, Lifford and Strabane. Enjoy an old-style luxury classic cinema with a modern twist. Relax and unwind with a nice glass of wine, some hot food, or maybe a pizza. For a great night out, book your seats at the Regal Room Eclipse Cinemas, Lifford and Strabane.
Okay, right. Let's say hello to Kwang Ji Chan now. Chef, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's good to speak to you again. How are you keeping up there?
You are looking sharp.
Oh yeah, we're just setting up the big grill festival here in Herbert Park in Dublin. So just for the barbecue festival.
Excellent.
So,
we appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Peek, yeah.
Oh wow, that's going to be cracking. And what about the weather for that?
Oh, the weather's cracking. I think it's like, it was 30 degrees yesterday. What was it like in Donegal?
It's lovely. 25, 26 degrees, inland, scorchio by the coast, that nice cool breeze. It's perfect.
This is the time I really miss Donegal,
Yeah,
the beaches
I know.
and that,
I know, it's lovely. It really is nice. Okay, so you know yourself, there's not a bag of charcoal or a barbecue available anywhere because we've all decided we're going to do this in these 2 or 3 days.
On the 1 week, yeah.
Yeah, so is there an argument to be had here? Charcoal or gas?
Look, charcoal is always better flavour, obviously, and if you can't get charcoal, gases do as well. It's very simple. Very easy to hook up, you know what I mean? So, but charcoal will give you extra flavour, and if you're doing slow cooking as well, it's a lot better, so yeah.
And you, I presume, would use different charcoals, would you? Or other chefs might. I've seen some programs whereby they put some, not flavour through it, I don't know precisely what they do, or herbs actually in the charcoal, adding flavour through the smoke.
Yeah, so basically, lumpwood charcoal is what I use, which is you never use the round ones because there's a bit of chemical that kind of comes off them, you know what I mean? You can really taste in your food. They're little baguettes. But we use a lumpwood, so it's like actually charcoal that's been low temperature cooked. But so people flavour, if you want to flavour your charcoal barbecue, like, in your lumpwood. So basically, you soak your, say, applewood chips or cheddarwood chips and stuff like that. You soak them overnight. and then you throw it in your barbecue. That will slowly burn and release smoke, and that will get smoke flavor in your barbecue meats, you know. So
beautiful. I'm starving here. What is the rights and wrongs with charcoal? How long after you light it can you start cooking on it?
yeah, so basically, charcoal. You want to let it kind of go red. You know what I mean? Like you want to at the first kind of 10, 15, 20 minutes, like it's just pure smoke. Like, you know, you can't really cook on that until it kind of burns off, until it kind of get the white ambers. And then you can start cooking that with the white ambers, you know what I mean? So that's when the smoke is less, and it won't go in flames that much either, because mostly like it's you want to cook on the heat and not in the smoke, you know. So yeah.
Now, obviously, people should use internal thermometers and all that type of stuff. But if you want to cook chicken on a barbecue, how do you do it without sort of burning the living daylights out of the exterior of it and it being raw in the middle, effectively?
Yeah, so basically, look, my rule is, look, if you have a thermometer, that's great. Always cut into the meat, you know what I mean? Like, and have a look at it. I don't like my chicken well done. I kind of like it just done, so it's kind of like just juicy, but you can't see blood, or, you know, if you can't kind of see a white, clear liquid running out from it, that's perfectly cooked, you know what I mean?
But in terms of that, sorry, because that's caught me interested, because I overdo chicken because I don't want to kill anyone. What's the internal colour of that chicken? You're going by the juices and temp, right? But just for those who might not have one of those, like, would it still be pinkish even, or would it be?
So if you see kind of pink chicken, you know, the fillets and the pink chicken thighs will be more pink than the fillets. So cook it a bit more, you know what I mean? So it needs to be around, you know, if you cook it over about 80 degrees, you're perfect, you know what I mean? You're all right. 78 will do as well, so that's perfect too. So if you're cooking thighs and drumsticks, just cut into the center of the bone, and if it's still kind of red in the middle of the bone, cook it a bit more, you know what I mean? That's the kind of rule, you know? So
and you like it sort of less well done, is it because you find it more flavorful, or the texture, or
I just don't like dry meats on the barbecue. I like kind of moist, you know what I mean? Kind of loads of juicy kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So I don't kind of overcook it, but some people do like well done steaks and, you know what I mean, well done chicken on the barbecue, you know? So
So just back to the charcoal, is it when the smoke stops, or when there's a bit of white over the top of it? When can you start cooking, or is it down to time, Kwanji?
Basically, whenever you see the kind of white amber starting to build up, then you're kind of ready, you know what I mean? You would know, like, you see the red glow off the charcoal, yeah? And then what you need to do then, if it's like, I use a green egg barbecue, so it's like a draft at the bottom and draft at the top. So whenever you see white ambers and red kind of charcoal start going, you want to tone down the air draft, so you want to slow down the charcoal so it kind of cooks evenly then, you know what I mean? You don't want it too hot then either, you know? So, and that's kind of how you control the top and control the bottom draft.
Brilliant. And what about adding charcoal? Because obviously eventually the heat will begin to drop. Can you add... Do you put a sheet of, like a covering of new charcoal over the old stuff, or what?
Yeah, so if you're going to do that, you're going to need to do the exact same process and let it burn off again, you know. But just put in enough charcoal to get you going, you know what I mean? And then you don't have to throw in new stuff again, because, yeah.
All right. Are there any good vegan options for a barbecue?
Vegan options. I love just vegetables on a barbecue, like broccoli, something sturdy, like, you know what I mean? Like cauliflower is really nice on barbecues as well, because I'll take that heat, you know what I mean? Like also peppers, like do them whole, like, you know what I mean? Or even just stuff them a bit of maybe like a vegetable kind of mince or something like that, you know, or even rice, and just cover it with a bit of tin foil and you stick it on the barbecue, you know? Oh, they're beautiful. And do, you know, wooden skewers as well. Soak them in water before you kind of stick your vegetables in them, and then you can take them out easier as well, you know. So,
and people have to try. I mean, vegetables are quite accessible, relatively cheap. Make up one of these skewers and sort of experiment. That's, you know, you're not going to get anything terribly wrong, are you?
Yeah, but you know what the secret is with a barbecue, though, Greg?
Go on.
It's all about the sauces. It's all about the sauces, you know, and the salads. So
I agree. Well, a caller says, funny enough, I'm looking for healthier homemade barbecue sauce or a coleslaw recipe. We're trying to cut down on sugar, and the good weather is making it hard.
Oh, yeah. So, look, you know, if you're trying to cut down on sugar, like, use honey or maple syrup. Honey is really good for you as well, you know what I mean? Like, you know, use that instead, like, you know, even for glazing your barbecues, or even give it a brush over your meats, like, you know, mix that with a bit of barbecue sauce and brush it over. A simple vinaigrette, like, you know what I mean? You know, vinegar, oil, olive oil, and a bit of salt and pepper and a bit of mustard. That goes really well with salads as well. Like, simple, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Sounds delicious. So you'll say, because meat is meat. I'm like you. It's also sometimes what can be added to it, the sauces and the relishes and the dips. That's what really makes it for me too. What are you going to be
cooking? The dips and salads.
Yeah, what are you going to be cooking down there today?
Yeah, so we will be doing some char siu belly of pork. So I have that kind of like barbecue pork marinating there for about 24 hours and char siu marinade, which is basically hoisin, garlic, ginger, spice powder, and then we cook it really slow for about 12 hours, like, so the meat kind of falls off the bone, and we're doing some dumplings and vegetarian dumplings as well, so yeah. That's
literally going to melt in the mouth, that meat, the way you're doing that. How long should I marinate meat before slapping it on the barbecue?
Anything, but that depends what size of meat, you know what I mean? Like, so I normally use a thumb rule, like maybe an hour, a pound or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, and just do that, you know what I mean? Chicken fillets, like maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes will do as well. It depends what kind of marinade. I use marinade. If it's a really strong marinade, like, you know what I mean, or dry marinade, you can, 45 minutes be grand, just brush it off and then stick it on the barbecue. But it's always just getting a bit of flavour in the meat, yeah.
Right, so if you were calling around to my house and it was going to be within my skill set, which is limited, what's the nicest thing I could serve up for you?
Oh my God, I don't know. Come here. There's just nothing wrong with a nice piece of burger or a nice piece of ribeye steak. You know what I mean? Done really nice.
Steak on a barbecue. There's something else, isn't it? It's
you know what? I love these big, massive Frankfurter sausages. You know, the big, massive, big ones. Like, they're always really nice with a bit of mustard dressing on them. And a bit of potato salad on the side. Oh. Beautiful,
I'm gonna.
Am I making you hungry? I'm
actually gonna have to cut this. No, listen. We know you're busy, Kwanji. Thanks so much for your time this morning. You've got beautiful weather for the weekend ahead down there for that barbecue event. It looks wonderful, brilliant.
Yeah.
And where is that? Where are you actually located at the moment?
So we're in Harbour Park at the moment. So
Harbour
it's
Park,
still getting set up. Yeah. So just on Ballsbridge there. But look, if you're around Dublin, do call in. Like, it's a fantastic festival. Some of the best barbecue chefs in the world is here. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Enjoy it. Okay, thanks very much indeed. Thanks. Many people out there you'd have watched on some of these higher numbered satellite channels, the barbecue competitions that they have and the amount of time they put into preparing the meat, and it really is remarkable. But anyway, we can all do it at all level. Some of the nicest burgers you have are on one of those little portable we have our ovens and we have our frying pans and our air fryers, but even if it's just one of those little disposable barbecues, there's so much. I used a couple of them last year and they have improved something else over the years. Like, they really are effective way of cooking outside without having to go to the expense of getting an actual barbecue. All right, thank you very much, Kwanji.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The big bucks are back.
20 grand!
4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
Oh, that ain't working.
€2,500 every Friday.
And on the 4th Friday,
September 2nd, someone also wins
10,000 cash money.
Go to highlandradio.com and get your €10 ticket. It's a whole new meaning to cash flow. Highland Radio.
That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing.
Summer's just got better.
Nutrius Weanling Crunch offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Weanling Crunch ATP, get 1 free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
New acres payment rates revealed. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Farmers will be paid to plant trees, hedgerows and leave land idle. We have all the payment details. We have essential heatwave advice for keeping you and your animals safe. Find out which counties will likely see stocking rate cuts. Plus save tax by paying your children for farm work.
And pick up an entry form inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal for your chance to win €10,000 with Zurich Farm Insurance. In shops now.
It's a 4-hour dancing spectacular this Friday night at the Abbey Hotel, Donegal, with Jimmy Buckley and his award-winning band, launching their brand new single, Fiddle in the Band. Doors open at 9 p.m. Support from Conor O'Donnell with Jimmy Buckley on stage at 11:30 p.m. Dance the night away at the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town this Friday night.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day from 12 to 6. Fantastic for family day trips. Excellent value for birthday party packages. For a wonderful family experience this weekend, check out leisurelandredcastle.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. On to it now. We welcome Dr. Anthony Breslin, Public Health Consultant with HSE West. Good morning to you, Anthony. Thanks for your time today.
Not at all. Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. Now, we are going to be talking about vaccination and the vaccination programme and the options people have and where to get vaccinated. But before we do, well, it's part of it, how big of a challenge is it in terms of getting the message across to a population that either A, thinks that this is a thing of the past, or B, sort of wants to think it's a thing of the past?
Difficult, because that's perfectly normal. We've had this going on for over 2.5 years. People are fed up. They want to get back to normal. We want them to get back to normal too. We did see a big effect when we had the first vaccine in. It did make a big difference. Yes, people got sick, but the vaccine made it less severe illness, reduced the hospitalizations, etc. Unfortunately, we know that the virus keeps changing, and I'm not going to go into all the different variants we've had. And we need to be ready to deal with those. And we know that as winter comes as well, people are going to be indoors a lot, socialising a lot more indoors, and that's the way you can spread infection. So we know that COVID will come back. It does come back every number of months. So we want people protected for certainly the start of the winter by getting the COVID vaccine, if they should be getting it.
So obviously, we're back. We're speaking now, but there's been sort of a bit of a gap in terms of a public health message, other than adverts and stuff. But all the while, people have been talking to each other about how maybe they had a reaction to a third jab, or they spoke to someone who did, and that's been allowed to sort of percolate, and maybe people are having their opinions, and there's an increased hesitancy to a fourth injection. What would you say to those people who feel hesitant now?
Well, we know that with every sort of vaccine, that we're not going to give people unsafe vaccines. So vaccines are safe, but we know that people do have reaction to the mild reaction, sort of pain at or soreness of the injection site. Some people can have a flu-like illness for 24 hours, etc., like that. But that's the way it is with all vaccines, and the COVID vaccine is no different to that. But we have to think that by getting the vaccine, as I said, it won't unfortunately stop you getting the infection, but it does stop you getting ill. We don't want people getting long COVID. We don't want people being sick for weeks. We don't want people being admitted to hospital.
Okay, so the way through August and into September, people are being called in cohorts. So is it over 60? Yes. I think I've got over 60s on my notes here, but it's over 65s or from Monday the 15th?
Over 60s.
Okay, over 60s from Monday the 15th.
They can get the vaccine from the 15th. From 55, from the 22nd, so it's down like that. But pregnant women and immunosuppressant get it from the 15th of August as well. And get it from your GP or from the vaccination clinics, depending on what you require. And the sort of the detailed information is obviously on the HSE website, so there's links as well to make an appointment if you want to go to the vaccination centres to get the vaccine.
Do you have to be referred? Because a couple of weeks ago we were contacted by some people who turned up at a vaccination clinic to get theirs with the best will in the world, and they were told, well, you need to be a letter from your GP or something along those lines. So is it just book and turn up, or is there GP involvement?
No, book and turn up.
Some people are a wee bit confused because there's talk of new vaccines and there's talk about different variants, but we're going to be giving people effectively the original vaccination. What's the logic
the same
there?
Vaccine. But that's the one that's been tested at the moment, and we know it works. Down the line, as more development work is done on other vaccines, I suppose the holy grail in the short term would be a vaccine that covers all the different subtypes of COVID, sort of a general COVID vaccine. We're not there yet. It's just the same as we're not there with sort of a general flu vaccine, that the flu vaccine has to change every year according to deal with the flu virus that's out there. And we're in a similar position at the moment with COVID. But down the line, as we learn more about it and find out what are the key components, that'll be something that we'll have.
Is there, in terms of what can be revealed publicly, is there a target or an expectation or a point that the likes of yourselves and others involved in public health would like to get to? In other words, in terms of over 60s, are you expecting 30, 40, 60, 70% take up, or is there a figure that we need, for example?
We need to get up towards sort of the 80s to protect people. Because we want to. The vaccine, as you know, I've said this to you before numerous times, Greg. You probably have written down over your desk. Vaccine works in two ways. Number one, protects the individual, and it also cuts down the circulating virus, and that protects people who can't get the vaccine, have taken the vaccine and have got the vaccine and the vaccine hasn't taken them fully, and those people who don't get the vaccine. So we're trying to cut down on the circulating virus. So that's why we need a high number of people vaccinated.
Okay, so how do people go about doing so? Well, for example, there are 2 COVID pop-up vaccination clinics held at the Community Mental Health Hub in Dunloe, Friday the 12th, Saturday the 13th. The clinics are from 11am to 5:15pm on both days. You can go to the hse.ie to check your eligibility. Doses 1, 2 and booster dose for those aged 12 and over. Available first and second boosters for those aged 65 years and over. There's also a vaccination clinic at Letterkenny's COVID-19 Vaccination Centre. And there's different times for different age cohorts. I would think I will confuse it if I go into it, so I'd suggest people go to the HSC website.
No, I agree totally with you. That's why I didn't want to say too much about the practicalities when we start off. But go to the website, detailed information there. The basic thing is that we're seeing over 60s, young children who underlying conditions, and pregnant women. They can all start from that's been switched on sort of the middle of August. Okay. And then timelines then according to get the older people and the pregnant women and the immunosuppressed started first, and then others then follow through as we did previously.
All right, Dr. Anthony Bresson, thanks for your time today.
Not at all, Red. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Thanks, Dr. Anthony Bresson, who is the public health consultant with HSC West. So there's no end of information out there, be it on social media or just circulating in society as to what people will or won't do. That's just the official public health advice there for you to consider also. Right, now maybe you can help. These people stayed in Buncrana. They lost a bunch of keys. It's a push button car, and we think the keys were left on the roof of the car, causing it to start. We drove off from Carndonagh to Buncrana and couldn't locate them on arrival. It's a large bunch with a Kia key ring on it. Okay, this is a nightmare with these, my nightmare situation with sort of wireless key starts. The key was clearly close enough in the vehicle. Do you know where I've left my keys and left sunglasses and searched high and low? I'm not suggesting this for these people. On the windscreen, just under the windscreen wipers, and they go in under the bonnet there. And I've left sunglasses, wallet, car keys, retain them all. But I don't know. I think I'm out of the habit, but I've done it many a time now at this stage. But anyway, they think they drove off with the keys on the roof. So they left Buncrana. Did you find, and there'd be no use to you at all, a large bunch of keys? It's got a Kia car ring on it, and it's sort of like the push remote key. If you can get it back to this family who were visiting Buncrana, get in touch with us and we'll get your details over to them. 07491 25,000 to call us, or text us on 086 60 25,000, and it would be lovely, wouldn't it, to reunite those people with those keys, because there's the inconvenience, but also if you don't have a second key, and if you're on holidays, how do you get that up to you? Or replacing a key is not the easiest thing in the world. All right, Takola says, the idea of teachers working hard is laughable. The bin man works hard, as does the factory worker, the GP and the chef. Regardless of your job, you're paid to give your best at all times. This is the problem today. Too many think their place of work should be honoured, that they actually turn up. Yeah, but with all jobs, though, and this is why I don't subscribe to this skilled and non-skilled thing, there's lots of jobs that you mentioned there that I wouldn't be able to do, and I couldn't be paid to do because I simply wouldn't be fit to do it. Like, I could not become a GP. I don't know if I'd have the patience to be a factory worker. But there are people that do those work, and they should be well rewarded in doing so because, you know, they've chosen to do it and others people have chosen not to. But anyway, listen, there's still dozens of comments that unfortunately we just ran out of time and didn't get to, but they will feature on